is this? Why was this link? This is 8 months old? Let me use the restroom 1 second.
Hey, Ruby. Hi. How are you guys doing?
What the f are you doing?
We just wanted to check it out. Look like a nice place.
Oh, really?
Yeah? Don't come near me. Whoa, whoa!
Aaron,
Stop. Hey, stop grabbing her.
Aaron,
Stop.
Aaron,
Stop.
get off of her.
Oh my god.
Oh, you're not so tough.
Hey,
Now
stop. Stop grabbing her. Hey, stop.
You're
Get off!
stupid.
Let go of me! Let go of me!
Walk away.
I'm calling the cops! I'm calling the cops! Get away! No! Get off of him! Get off of him! Get off of him!
Such an evil cunt.
Get off of him!
That's what you get.
Get
you
off!
fucking cunt.
Go away, run! Call the cops! Call the cops! Call the cops! This woman just attacked me on video. She's in that restaurant Atelier. She grabbed me. She grabbed my friend. She hit us. Red hair, please. She held me like crazy. Please. I have it on camera. Oh my God. Her. There. Right there. She's gonna come back, please.
Yeah, Roger. I'm outside with the big thing.
She's coming. She's going to attack us again. I'm getting in the car.
This clip is 8 minutes old, not months. Oh, wait, did I read it wrong? 8 minutes old. Oh, shit, wait. Oh, fuck, wait, was this worth watching? What happened? Sorry, now we're rewatching it.
Hey, Ruby. Hi. How are you guys doing?
What the fuck are you doing?
We just wanted to check it out. Look like a nice place.
Oh, really?
Yeah? Don't come near me. Whoa!
Aaron,
Stop.
Stop.
Hey, stop
Sorry.
grabbing her.
Aaron, Aaron,
Stop.
get off of her.
Woman who threatened to sue Destiny. For context, this is Grace Thorpe. Which one is Grace?
Oh my god.
Oh, you're not so tough.
Hey,
Now
stop grabbing her. Hey, stop.
You're
Grace is recording.
Get off!
stupid.
Let go of me!
Oh, Thorpe Tube.
Let go of me!
Like a fucking obsession with you.
Walk away.
Grace, you're the
I'm calling the cops! I'm calling the cops! Get away! No! Get off of him! Get off of him!
Okay. Okay.
Hear arguments.
Stop.
The best game.
Stop. And stop. Okay. Jesus. What is this?
To those people every day, and there were people that genuinely thought, they genuinely believed that Donald Trump was actually excising the violent criminals. And the only reason why people are led to believe this lie, aside from the faucet of misinformation that comes from independent outlets on the right and also Fox News as well, is because there is no robust response from the Democratic Party that says, that's a fucking lie. That's a lie. Undocumented migrants in this country are responsible for a lower
Pretty sure Democrats have been saying this over and 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 over again, but okay.
rate of per capita crime than natural-born U.S. citizens are. If you pair that up with documented migrants, it's negligible. It is marginal, and they're hyper-focusing on it specifically because this is a vulnerable population that is easy to target and it's easy to ridicule, and there is not enough of a robust defense mechanism out there. And that's the reason why people end up believing this bullshit, and then they get shocked when it's actually implemented.
Okay.
I've just gotten a...
Okay. Okay. Take a quick research break. What was her review of her debate? How did she feel?
Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Lila Rose Show. We're going live here because I had a lot of fun recently going on Jubilee Jubilee Media and doing one of their, I guess, episodes called Surrounded, where they have one person with one point of view surrounded by 25 people of another point of view. And I was the pro-life activist surrounded by 25 pro-abortion or pro-choice activists, depending on the terminology that you want to use. So I thought I'd do a little react here. I think I just ordered some coffee. It's going to be coming soon, and I'm going to drink my coffee and react to how this went. I really enjoyed the opportunity to do this because I have found over now 15 plus years of pro-life activism that it can be really hard to find people on the opposing side who support abortion who are willing to have discussions or debates. It can be really hard. In fact, Planned Parenthood, the biggest abortion chain, has an official no debate policy. And I
Abortion chain.
know this because they have actually told media groups over the last decade when I've been on a show that they will not come on the show because I'm on the show, and they don't do debates or discussions with people who disagree. So that's literally Planned Parenthood's official policy, even though they're the biggest abortion chain and they also run this huge marketing and legislative push to get pro-abortion laws on the books, et cetera. That's their whole gig. They don't want there to be discussions or conversations. So all this to say, when Jubilee invited
They
me
don't want there to be discussions or conversations, as her statement about Planned Parenthood, when they just said they don't want to debate. Those are two very different positions, but okay.
on for this, I was extremely happy to do it because I think having conversations about the right to life of the baby, abortion, anything and everything related to this topic is so important. And I think it's so powerful when those conversations happen. So I'm really glad that I got to do this. Was it easy to do? Was it fun to do in the moment? No, I personally don't love going in there and having conflict with people, but I thought it was incredibly important because there's 1 million abortions a year. This is our leading human rights abuse of our day. And I think every single person who cares about life and children should be plugged in on this and caring about abortion and the fact that we have 1 million abortions a year and that it's legal through all 9 months in many states, including my home state of California. So anyways, I'm gonna do some live reacting here. Hey guys, for those joining right now, hey Catherine, thanks for joining. Thanks for the kind words. Hey Lucia, thanks for joining. So I will be doing a live react of the Jubilee Surrounded one pro-life activist, that was me, yours truly, versus 25 pro-choice activists. And a little more behind the scenes. So I when I did this, the format, what it looks like, you walk into this big warehouse and it was really cold and there were all these, people sitting there. You don't really get to meet them before the debate. So it's kind of a surprise. They're surprised by who I am. I'm surprised by who they are. And then basically the time starts. I make a claim about what my position on abortion is, such as every unborn child has a right to life. And then the flag goes up when somebody is debating me and the other people don't like that they're debating me. The flags will go up. If there's enough flags, the person gets kicked off the debate round. So I'll just play a little promo. This is the promo clip they use. So you get a feel for what this looks like. And then we'll go through some of the clips and do a react here. So let me know if you guys can hear the sound here. So today, who would be cheering you on, saying, "Go get him, mom! You got this."
I can promise you that would not be the case with
the Lila Rose podcast. Okay, one other quick thing I'll let you guys know for those that are watching the full video, activists. All right, there it is. So let's start with, one other quick thing I'll let you guys know for those that are watching the full video right now. And thanks again. Hello in the chat. Hey, Logan. Hey, Ann. Thanks for joining. Hey, John Henry. Thanks again for joining. So just a quick note, what you guys see on the Jubilee YouTube channel of this is obviously what we filmed. There was stuff that is not in there that we filmed. So we filmed another 10, 15 minutes that they didn't include. I'll talk about that later and why that might be. But also they moved the order around. And I think this is really key to just share on the outset because when you start watching that Jubilee video, it's like we're right in the middle of it going back and forth. But that was after an hour or so of the debating, I think maybe half an hour, I don't remember exactly, meaning they didn't start it in the sequencing. And we knew this going in. They were going to mix up the edit so that some things that happened later would happen earlier and vice versa. So just flagging that. But I'm going to start with the exchange that I had with a woman named Jax, which is what they used in the promo video. And we'll take a look at that.
Wow.
So this was the claim every unborn child.
Hello again. Hello. So my first question is, are you familiar with an anime or a manga series called Monster?
I'm not. Tell me about it.
In Monster, essentially you have a doctor, and this doctor has a choice. He has a choice to decide between either saving this young boy's life or saving the life of, I believe it's a sponsor of the hospital. He chooses to save the young boy's life. This young boy grows up to be the titular monster, worse than Hitler. Does that child have a right to life?
Yes, every child has a right to life.
Even if they turn out to be the most monstrous thing you could possibly produce. Even if their life means the life ending of everyone here. Yeah. Does their life still hold?
I believe monsters are not born, they're made. So just because a child might eventually do something when they grow up and become an adult doesn't mean we have a right to kill them before that. I don't know what went on in their childhood.
That's the worst argument, but okay.
The choices that they made, but at the end of the day, everyone has a right to life, especially a child. They're innocent.
Let's say this child grows up and their life is miserable to the point of where they would want to end their life. And that's going to obviously leave some kind of ricochet effect. Everybody's going to be desperately devastated by that. Would you say that the parent who believes that that is where their child's life is going, does that child still deserve the right to life? Are you saying that if a child is being abused, then we should be in support of killing that child? Then let me be more specific. What would you say to me as someone who is a third-generation suicide survivor? I want to do a quick interject here, which is so pause it. I want to hear what she has to say. But this is such a common pro-choice argument, pro-abortion argument, which is that the baby's going to live a terrible life, so it's better off to be aborted. And we hear this all the time. I mean, I've heard this argument thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and this argument completely dies in the face of that person who was the foster care kid, was the adoptee, had a disability, had a tough life at some point in their childhood,
it, and went on to overcome their circumstances. And that doesn't follow that, okay, if you have a hard life, then therefore you don't have the right to live regardless. But the point here is there's something called the power of the human spirit, resiliency, hope. And I think that is what we should be fighting for in the end. We should be fighting for people's right to live so that they can overcome adversity, so that they can go on to overcome whatever difficult challenges they faced in their childhood or in their life. And that's, I think, such a positive view of humanity and human dignity. And this other view, which is that if you have a hard life, you should die or be killed, is so dark. Not only does it violate, I think, human rights, of course, but it's so dark, it's so hopeless. So anyways, but I think this was really personal for Jackson. She's going to share that in a moment, so we'll keep watching.
Okay.
My mother, my grandmother, and their lives were miserable.
I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm so sorry that that's part of your history and that your mother, your grandmother endured that. And I'm so glad that you're here. I think your life is awesome. And I think every life is awesome.
Now, would you say the same if you knew that I was living in a domestic violence shelter where I consider taking my life frequently? Would you still say that I don't deserve to not only end that life, but especially somebody who did have an abortion, and somebody who had to make the decision to escape their abuser, their predator, their captor, someone who was trafficked and pimped? So, would you still say that raising that child under those circumstances would have either made my life difficult, or would you still say that child has a right to life if I made the decision, I don't want to be tied to a predator for the rest of my life, I don't want to be tied to my captor for the rest of my life?
So if someone's dealing with horrible abuse, and I hope that didn't happen to you, but if you were dealing with I'm so sorry. That's absolutely horrible. You deserved much better. You deserve to be taken out of that, rescued from that, and given a better life. And that would be my hope for every person, and what I'd want to work towards for every person, as opposed to saying death is the answer, or suicide is the answer, or abortion is the answer. I think choosing life is always better.
Now, what would you say if I were to say,
thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. So that, I think, was our first exchange. And then I think we had another one. Is that true? With Jax, where she talked about it. So maybe pull up the other one. So some of the guests could come up twice and not just the first time. They might get voted out the first time, and then they could try to come up again. And if they make it to the chair first, then they get their opportunity to be, do the debate or whatever. So that was my first conversation with Jax, which was fairly civil.
Just make her bite and saying life begins at fertilization, bullets the whole time, and GG. Well, that's where I'm going to come down on the legal and ethical thing. There's a lot of weird things. That's one of the things I'm trying to do more. You'll see it a lot in my Tom interview for sure. I'm trying to get people to bite more bullets, and I'll force them to bite more bullets. But there's a lot of weird stuff, I think, that you can get on the legal end. And I think I even tried to, maybe the last time I talked to her, that I don't believe a lot of people will own. So like, for instance, we should be registering persons at the moment of conception. So you should have like a legal name. You should have maybe a social security number. Something should be assigned to you at the moment of conception. Number one. Number two, every single moment of conception, pregnancy, positive pregnancy test that like turns out like a newly identified baby, those people all need to be followed to the end of their life, like you would a normal person. Meaning, if you find out that, I have a positive pregnancy test at 1 month or 1.5 months or whatever, maybe like 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever. If you have a miscarriage or something, there needs to be a criminal investigation for every single one of those miscarries. There would never in a million years be a 2-month-old child that dies absent any kind of criminal investigation. Even if it's like a rote, like even if there's a lot of footage, maybe you can find out, but like you would absolutely have to look into these things, right? So, yeah, there's also weird arguments, I think, that you get into in that certain people, I believe, morally would be disallowed from having children. If you have certain types of defects that give you, or genetic whatever things or biological predispositions that give you like a high rate of miscarriage, we could figure out what we think that rate is. Over 50% is an easy, you're banned from having kids. You should be sterilized. Maybe even over 10%, right? Every time you try to conceive, there's a 10% chance you're murdering a child. These people would all probably have to be forcibly sterilized. It's because it's just no way we're going to murder that many children. Anybody involved with an abortion would be charged with murder or conspiracy to commit murder or assisted murder or whatever, with aggravating or mitigating factors, depending on how that works out. Like all of these things would necessarily have to follow your ethical statement that, all of these would have to follow the ontological statement that babies and fetuses and persons are the same thing. And then and then from there, your ethical statements of, we ought to protect all human life the same. I imagine you would, right? Well, your legal arguments here, like you can't treat some murders differently, And I don't think that anybody would bite the bullet on all of these things. And I think it immediately puts on notice how ridiculous the argument is. I think there's also on the peripheral a bunch of other things that you would have to mandate as well. So for instance, like kidney transplants would be mandatory if your children are suffering in some way. Blood transfusions would be mandatory if your children are suffering in some way. Like all of these things I think would be mandated from the parent. If we're going to say that like your body absolutely is allowed to be legally obligated to keeping a child alive or whatever, I think all of that should logically follow too. But I will get into that later. This is going to come down on like the legal, at the bottom of the ethics or legal section. We're not even at that part yet. I'm not building any arguments. I'm just listening to her.
Oh, that was my second. I'm sorry. The first conversation with Jax, I think, was more, at least the way that they edited it, they put the one that you just saw, they put that first, right? In the edit or no? Okay, so I think this is in the edit, the second interaction. Let's put on the first interaction with Jax, and you'll see more of kind of her argument. But what I'm just going to say here is I think what I saw a lot in the Jubilee debate from multiple of the women that I was debating is that a lot of them had what I believe is trauma from past abortions. And they shared that in the debate. They actually would talk about the abortions that they had, and they would get really, really upset, angry, anxious in the debate because they were talking about their abortion. So one of my claims in the debate was that abortion leaves women traumatized, that it's actually traumatic for women. And a lot of people in the debate said, no, not at all. Women are totally fine afterwards. And I did think it was very, heartbreaking and powerful that even the women who got up to debate that claim that abortion is traumatic would get extremely upset, claiming that their abortion did not make them upset ultimately. So let's finish watching the Jax exchange here, the second Jax exchange. Hi, what's your name?
Jax Prince. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mila.
So based off, you've given incredible points. Genuinely, truly, I'm learning quite a bit.
Thank you.
So for the people that you say have the abortion young, how old do I look, out of curiosity?
You're never supposed to answer that, right?
No, go ahead. By all
Will
means.
you tell me you'll do me if I do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, you are 25?
I appreciate that. At about 10 more years. So
Okay.
by
You
your
look
logic,
awesome.
thank you.
You look amazing.
By your logic, I should be in that age range of people who abort, let's say, who should be feeling the regret and everything. If I carried to term, I would be labeled a drug-addicted black mother, and if I had kept the baby, I would have been labeled a incompetent single mother. So my question for you is, what is your perception of how I should feel about my abortion?
So a couple things. First of all, sometimes the regret happens later in life. It's not within even 5 or 10 years. The trauma they feel might come out later when they have their own other children or grandchildren. So every woman, it's going to be
Is she
different.
going to pick
Sometimes
the
it's gonna be
worst
10 to 6
debaters
years.
every time?
I mean,
Is that
I
what
think,
she's?
I think
That's
you're
not what
amazing.
she's
I
doing
think
with
if
this,
that's
right?
what you've overcome in your life, I think that's incredible. And you should be proud of overcoming so many tough things in your life. It does break my heart that if you're sharing you had an abortion, that there could be a child, I don't know how old they'd be, 10 years old today, who would be cheering you on.
Wait,
saying,
is she not going to do any of the men that came up to debate? No shot, right? Ooh. Okay. Good one.
"Go get him, Mom. You got this."
I can promise
And I
you
think-
that would
I
not be
think-
the case, because I can almost promise you that would not be the case, because I say again, I'm in a domestic violence shelter. I've got a dog I can barely take care of. You're
Then I would-
excuse me, you're expecting me to sit here and let you tell me how I'm supposed to feel. You're trying to scare me.
I'm not telling you how to feel.
Yes, you are. Yes,
I'm
you are.
not telling you how to
With
feel.
your statistics,
But I
and
am telling you that your
with
baby-
your statistics
your
and
baby
your
had a right to
information,
live.
with your statistic and your
Your
information,
baby had a right to live.
You are completely wrong.
And-
because
and I wish
yes,
women had been helping you more.
Listen,
That's the other thing.
listen, but
You
you weren't
deserve
there.
more
That's just
help.
it. Everybody always likes to say, keep the baby, give it up for adoption. I know what our foster care system's like.
But when you
you can't tell me I would have a child cheering me
Just
on.
like when you place a child
You
for
can't-
adoption,
hold on. You're
they
not
don't go
gonna
into foster
speak. You don't get to speak for my child. You don't get to speak for my child.
Good one.
Let's start right there. You don't get to speak for my child. Think, mommy would be cheering you on, everything like that. You don't fucking know that. You don't know that at all. You don't know what my child would be. I may not even have my child, because I was so unfit at the time. Drug addiction, sex work, everything like that. Yes, I'm a proud pro-ho. That is exactly what I do. But you're telling me how my child would feel. And what gives you the right?
I
What
would
gives
hope
you
that
the
for your
right?
child.
What gives you the right?
I would love to respond to you. I think, yes, your child had a right to life. And I would say that I wish there were more people helping you at the time. It sounds like you were at a really rough time in your life. And I think that you mattered, that baby mattered.
Are there
You
any
both
guys
deserve-
there? Yeah, I would argue the two, because I'm sexist. The two best debaters that came up to confront her were both men. One was definitely a DGGer. And it looks like she hasn't included any of their arguments in here at all. A good one.
More help. That's what I would say.
That's what you would say. But you're saying my child would be cheering me on.
I would
right
hope
now.
that if you
live-
chose to
that's
parent.
the thing you said. You would hope.
I would hope
You
that.
would hope. So all of this is going off of hope.
Please return to your seat. So, I mean, even watching this makes me really sad. I don't know about you guys. I'll take a look at the chat, guys. Sorry to be a Debbie down here, but it is sad. It's heartbreaking what Jax went through, and that she chose abortion, and that she's like doubling down here. And you can just see the pain even in the conversation that I'm having with her. So, my heart really goes out to Jax. She tells me, how should I feel? She asked me to tell her how she should feel. I kind of don't take the bait, and I say, well, I would hope that this would be happening if you hadn't had the abortion, because she's basically saying if I hadn't had the abortion. And then she says, don't tell me. How can you tell me what to feel? How can you tell me what to feel? So, can't really win. But again, that's because it's so deeply emotional. It's clearly so deeply painful for her. And I understand why. This is the whole point of my claim in that segment. My claim was that abortion is traumatic to women. And my whole point there was to show how painful abortion is to women, because it's not just like going to the dentist. Abortion is not just like, hanging out and getting some, taking an Advil, or, it's not like getting your appendix out. Abortion is ending the life of a baby, and that has lifelong consequences. So anyways, my heart goes out to Jax, but I'm, again, grateful that people showed up to have the discussions, even if they got so highly emotional, because I think even that has power, and there's fruitfulness that can happen when we actually talk about this stuff. I mentioned a Medicaid study.
I feel like this women feel bad after argument doesn't really support her position, does it? The solution would be giving women more information and support her making a decision. No. And we know this now that we've read some of the researchers that apparently she's heavily influenced by, because they have this weird theory that doesn't seem to be supported in the literature at all, that women have an inbuilt attachment to the fetus at the moment of conception, and that any type of abortion that a woman receives is necessarily going to induce some sort of psychologically traumatic response from her because of the loss of the pregnancy. So that's what she's rolling with. When she keeps bringing up trauma here, the theory that she's rolling with that seems to be not supported by the current literature, the little bit of research we've read, and then the APA's position doesn't seem to agree with this, is that there's some inbuilt trauma to abortion.
A bunch of times about how women in California who are on Medicaid, so low-income women using state services for healthcare, that the ones that had abortions were 150% more likely to commit suicide than the ones that gave birth and carried to term this stuff. I mentioned a Medicaid study a bunch of times about how women in California who are on Medicaid, so low-income women using state services for healthcare, that the ones that had abortions were 150% more likely to commit suicide than the ones that gave birth and carried.
So she's citing, now we know she's citing that study, and she's citing one column of that study, but she's ignoring other parts of it. And that study is dog shit because of the research there, right? So she's citing that 150% more likely to commit suicide, but what she's not citing is that the people that were the least likely to die were the ones that had an abortion early on and then had a delivery later on. I don't know. I doubt she has a counter for that. This was 9 months ago. I don't know if anybody's confronted her on that specific point. I'm 100% positive she's never read that study cover to cover, but
to term. So even according to California research and data, it shows that women who have abortions are more likely.
I also love, you can see the dishonesty here, the bad faith. She keeps saying
than the ones that gave birth and carried to term. So even according to California research and data, it shows that women who have abortions.
This is not California research. That's a lie. This is research done by a fake PhD from an unaccredited university electrical engineer guy who is part of an anti-abortion advocacy group. Now, he got the data from California. This is the study that she's referencing, but this is not California research. This was just data pulled from the Medi-Cal program in California. Right, but she never says that. She didn't do that in Jubilee either. She makes it sound like this is some official state-sponsored study. It's not.
Are more likely to have mental troubles afterwards and even become suicidal. So anyways, I hope for those listening and watching, and hey Lucia, for folks in the chat, hey Diana, let's pray for people who end up watching the Jubilee debate, let's pray for the people in it, pray for each other. And because again, there's a lot of trauma that I think people experience, and it's because abortion takes a life. This is not just some medical procedure. This is a human being. This is an entire person with a whole life in front of them. And every abortion, when it takes the life of that human being, it destroys a whole lifetime of possibilities for love, of opportunities, for belonging, for family. It's all destroyed. So anyways, it's very, very heartbreaking there. I'm just gonna take a look at the chat here. John Henry says, your 100K subscriber podcast, you had the Sound of Freedom on. Thanks for being an OG.
Is
by the way,
she
John Henry.
sponsored by anti-abortion groups? Even worse, I'm pretty sure she runs an anti-abortion group. I haven't looked into it yet, but it's the Live Action is apparently her group, but she's like the head of a big anti-abortion org.
Really appreciate it. We're almost at 200,000 subs on the channel. So thank you everybody for watching and supporting the channel. Nicholas says, Lila, you should be slightly more aggressive in your rebuttals, in my opinion. I love your work. It sounds like you're an indirect doctor by saving unborn lives through persuading women. Yes, my goal is to persuade people. That is my job. I want to persuade people. And sometimes I get aggressive, and you'll see that if you watch the whole Jubilee debate. There are points where I do get aggressive. I kind of interject. I try to redirect. And then there are other times where I try to just lay low and really listen, because in the situation of the exchange with Dax, it's clear she's hurting. It's clear she's damaged by her own abortion. She's not at peace with the abortion that she had, and she was going through, she said, a terrible time in her life. And so I think it depends on the person and the circumstances, how intense and aggressive to get with the line of questioning or with the answers or with the debate. So that's just my view and how I usually run these debates. And you'll see in the Jubilee debate, there are times where I get aggressive, where I interject, where I make strong statements, and then there's other times where I think I'm a little more, my tone is a little more low key because the person is coming in with this emotional intensity. And if I were to match that emotional intensity, I think it would destroy the opportunity for an actual conversation, because we would just be yelling at each other basically. So anyways, let's go to the next clip. Let's watch another one. Okay, so I think this next one, what are we pulling up next, Harris? Okay, this is a clip with a girl named Julia. And what was the claim with this one? This one was, okay, so this was one of my, I think it was my third or fourth claim in the Jubilee debate. Abortion is unconstitutional and should be banned. And then this is a conversation I had with a girl named Julia.
Yes. Okay. So you had mentioned that regardless if it is illegal or not, women are still going to get abortions. So how do you justify the fact
They'll
that
have far less if it's illegal. The abortion rate goes down dramatically when it's
they're
illegal.
not going to report if they're doing it illegally because there's going to be repercussions? So
But
why not?
we can prove that live births go up in states where abortion is illegal.
I can't believe she's just rewatching the shittiest arguments. Well, at least we know then that she's not prepared to counter the other ones, because she would probably address those if she was better prepared for them, huh?
The fact that some states made abortion illegal. So we know more women are having babies. So even with unreported illegal abortions, live births are still going up.
But do you understand
So the
that
law
people when they know that abortion is illegal or that women have more difficulty receiving abortions, they're going to carry babies to term because they're out of fear of abortions. Why not? Why would you pretty much want to defund places like Planned Parenthood, places that actively help women have safe abortions, and then it further prevents miscarriages in the future?
I'm sorry to pause this. Micah in the chat, he says, bye, I'm too pro-choice to be here. Come back, Micah. I'm happy. Like, seriously, I want to hear, like, in the chat, if you're pro-choice, I want to hear from you guys. Like, that's the whole reason I did this whole Jubilee thing. So anyways, don't leave, Micah, but we'll keep listening to this exchange. Some of the work I'm trying to do now is work against this narrative that gives women so much fear about children. We are told to fear pregnancy, we're told to fear birth, we're told to fear being mothers, and our society also tells us to celebrate abortion. And I think that's a very anti-woman view. And I think we should flip the script on that and instead say, actually, our superpower as women is the ability to bring life into the world.
Our superpower of women is the power to choose. That's feminism. The power of choice. If you want to be a mother or you don't want to be a mother, that's feminism. If you want to stay home, you want to go to work.
The difference is when you're pregnant, you're already a mother. And we can't deny the scientific reality of that human life. That is a human life, a child's son or daughter that has rights too.
If you force women to have pregnancies and you force women to basically change their entire life, we're not forcing the men to do that.
Well, I think we should force them to do that.
Okay, great. Well, have you met a man? You think they're going to do that? They're not going to do that. They're really not.
What you're getting at, which I think is a really good point, is that we have this sort of approach in our society when it comes to sex and relationships, where men and women, and a lot of times, I don't want to just say men do this, women do this too, where we treat this very maybe casually. We have this all backwards. Instead of looking at sex and relationships as something really beautiful, something you commit to for life, you sacrifice for the other person, you love that other person, and then if you conceive a baby, you love that baby, you fight for that baby. I think that is the view we should be moving towards as a society, instead of sex being casual. If you get pregnant, just have an abortion. The man abandons the woman.
It's a very heterosexual view, because we're not including queer sex in this narrative, in which sometimes sex is.
Well, if the queer sex brings life into the world, either way, I think at the end of the day, we're still talking about human life.
That's great, but often, but in this regards, in this argument, we're not giving people sexual education. If you go to Planned Parenthood, they not only give abortions, they also provide STD testing. They allow men into Planned Parenthood, people without health insurance. We're talking about healthcare's right. Yeah, so much to unpack here. And like, also, I want to pay attention to the chat. Just a couple thoughts on this one. It's so interesting because like this is I think one of the biggest disagreements between a pro-life position and a pro-abortion position. It's like, what is a woman's superpower? And I said the superpower of a woman is that she has the ability to bring life into the world. Men can't do that. Only women can. That is the difference, the sexual difference between men and women. Women can be mothers, men can be fathers, and not vice versa. So she says, Julia, in response, she says, no, the superpower of a woman is the power to choose
whether or not to bring life into the world. And to some degree, she's correct in the sense that yes, you can choose as a woman to get married, you can choose to have sex and get pregnant, you can choose to not, you can choose to abstain and become a nun or just not have sex at all and be an abstinent person and not do that, not bring life into the world. But when you have sex and you conceive a baby, you brought life into the world. There's already life into the world, and that is a superpower. And then the question is, and the pro-abortion argument is, well, I have the right now to kill this life. And the pro-life position is, no, you don't have the right to kill your child. Just because you bring them into the world, you don't want them in the world anymore. You don't have the right to take them out of the world. So that is the key difference here. And in all the debate during this Jubilee discussion, I don't think that difference was ever really. The format is tough, right? Because literally people get voted off. You only have like a few minutes with people. You have to have this discussion. So I think that was not as fully fleshed out as maybe it could have been in a longer form debate. I will be doing a debate at Georgetown University next week with a pro-abortion professor over like an hour and a half. So I do the long form debates, but this one, again, hard to go very deep in such a short time frame. It was kind of crazy how she said the thing about queer sex. What about queer sex? She's like, well, queer sex. She's like, you're talking about heterosexuals.
Abortion
I said, well,
debate.
regardless, we're talking about bringing life into the world. So sex that brings life into the world. That's sex between a man and a woman. That is sex that can bring life into the world. So if you want to dismiss that as just heterosexual sex, you can do what you would like. But the reality is that is the sex that can bring life into the world. That's why we're talking about this. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick look at the chat here. The chat's going. All right, Micah, I mentioned Micah earlier. Micah says, is pro-life mostly a Christian thing? No, it's not. You do not have to be Christian to be pro-life. In fact, I know a ton of pro-lifers who are atheists, pro-lifers. Develop skin eventually.
Sure.
What is it? What is it? Come on. What is it?
It's a massive cells.
But what is it? It's a human embryo, right?
Well, yes,
That's developing
but it is a clump of
But
cells.
we already said we are clumps of cells. You're kind of using that pejoratively, like, oh, you're a clump of cells, you can be aborted, you can miss it, doesn't matter, who cares? You are not a clump of cells.
But it's not a clump,
dehumanizing. You're being a little dehumanizing.
Yes, I am being dehumanizing because it is a clump of cells.
But we are clumps of cells. You acknowledge that.
Yeah.
So you're not wanting to dehumanize us, right? Why wouldn't you dehumanize us?
Because until you are actually outside of my body, there are no rights.
It's like
because if there were, my friends.
But I have to. The thing is, it's so composite. It's so crazy. It's like she's admitting. I mean, it took me a while to get her to admit it using the Socratic method that we got her there. She admitted that yes, it is a human embryo. It's a whole human. It's not just like skin cells. It's a clump of cells, yes, but it's also an embryo. She admits, well, yeah, I'm a clump of cells. You're a clump of cells. So like, and then she admitted, I am dehumanizing them. Like she literally said she was dehumanizing them. And then she goes just like again.
Very interesting collection of events with Leela Rose and PP Planned Parenthood in 2011. Wait, what? Timeline events. January 2011. What is this? This is like, is this schizo posting? 8 Planned Parenthood clinics report similar situations involving extreme encounters with clients within a 5-day span. Planned Parenthood sends letter to Eric Holder to investigate potential sex trafficking based on the visits in early January. Live action videos posted to YouTube and on live action website. New Jersey Senator Michael Doherty called on state and federal law enforcement officials to investigate an undercover video showing a Planned Parenthood manager advising a pimp how to hide his underage sex slaves from the law. Planned Parenthood released a statement which indicated it had fired the New Jersey clinic manager who appeared in the video. Planned Parenthood said in a statement that the full video showed its employee behaving in a repugnant manner that is inconsistent with our standards of care. The organization also claims live action videos are clearly edited. YouTube threatens to remove live action videos citing privacy violations, following the nationwide attention given to the video footage showing a Planned Parenthood staff member at a New Jersey clinic helping alleged sex traffickers cover up their crimes. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie vetoed a bill funding Planned Parenthood. Live action president Leela Rose goes on a media blitz. Rose replied to Planned Parenthood's letter to Eric Holder. Rose claims the organization did not visit an Indiana clinic mentioned in the letter and requests an immediate and thorough investigation in Planned Parenthood of Indiana as well as all the other Planned Parenthood clinics. Republican Representative Mike Pence introduces Pence Amendment to House Resolution 1 to bar federal funding to Planned Parenthood, argues it's not an issue of abortion, rather it's an issue of who pays for abortions. Jerry Nadler calls Pence Amendment a bill of attainder, saying it was unconstitutional because the legislation targeted a specific group. Federal government votes 240 to 185 bars Planned Parenthood funding, states that this is a congressional attack on women and women's health care. Planned Parenthood launches Stand With Planned Parenthood campaign and the Truth Tour bus campaign to avoid a government shutdown on March 18th. House Appropriations Committee Chairman Hall Rogers introduces continuing resolution to fund federal government through April 8th. News site Salon.com calls to shut down the Planned Parenthood government shutdown. If here's a government shutdown looms, one pointed to the government is a $300 million cut for Planned Parenthood. Media begins toting the issue as an ideological one. Obama says, what we can't be doing is using last year's budget process to have arguments about abortion, to have arguments about the Environmental Protection Agency, to try to use this budget negotiation as a vehicle for every ideological or political difference between the two parties. That's what the legislature is for, to have those arguments, but not stuff it all into one budget bill. President Obama says he will not sign a budget agreement to keep the government running that cuts funding for Planned Parenthood and the EPA. Huffington Post runs headline, government shutdown threatened by Republicans over Planned Parenthood. White House announces government reaches budget agreement overnight, which includes federal funding of Planned Parenthood. Why did I read this? Just get to the part where she pretends to be a 13-year-old who got raped by her 27-year-old BF. Wait, what? Wait, stop. And to that, wait, hold on. First of all, how old is she? Leela Rose, Wikipedia. Oh, she's my age, 36. 37, sorry. So in 2008, she would have been 20? If she was born in 88? Okay. President Leela Rose. Okay, in 2008, Live Action launched the Mona Lisa Project, which began as a hidden camera investigation at Planned Parenthood clinics because it believed the organization was violating statutory rape laws. What? Like raping people, or just like having abortions for young women was like counted as that? According to the Live Action website, the investigation also planned to reveal the inside story in the abortion industry and abuses. President Leela Rose posed as a 13-year-old, claiming to have been impregnated by her 27-year-old boyfriend. The clinic employee instructed her to claim the boyfriend was 14 years old to avoid mandatory statutory rape reporting laws. Other campaigns against Planned Parenthood include the Rosa Acuna Project, which focused on obtaining video footage of Planned Parenthood staff providing false medical and scientific information to patients. Is there no exemption for medical people? Oh, shit, that's actually such a tough one. Should medical personnel have an obligation to report statutory rape if they find out about it? On one end, you would say, well, obviously, if you come across this, they obviously should. But then on the other end, now if you're a minor who has some kind of sexual relationship with an older person, why would you ever go to any medical health person? You would just call the cops. Damn, that's a really tough one. I don't know what the actual answer is for that. Is there a statutory rape obligation to report? Should they have an obligation to report any crime? It deters from seeking health care that is possibly saving. The two I can kind of get on board with. I don't know if this is of all medical professionals or just like therapists or psychiatrists, is if somebody is an imminent danger to themselves or somebody else. Like if somebody comes in and they're like, just so you know, like I'm feeling like horrible, I'm gonna go kill my family, and they leave, you have an obligation to report that. Or if they say they're gonna kill themselves, if they seem like they're an imminent, they have the means and the desire to imminently kill themselves. I think medical care providers are mandatory reporters of everything. I feel like the last thing you would want is someone in a relationship with an older man being too afraid to get an abortion because their significant other will go to jail. Yeah, that seems like the worst thing, especially because this would be like your biggest at-risk group of people. Like imagine your 13 to 16-year-olds that get impregnated by their 30-year-old whatever boyfriend, and they're like, or you can even say closer in age, like 22-year-old boyfriend, and they're like, well, I love him, but I really want to get an abortion. And now they're like, yeah, I don't know. The clinic employee instructed her to claim her boyfriend was 14 years old to avoid mandatory statutory rape reporting laws. Other campaigns against Planned Parenthood. Is there anything? I wonder what the follow-up to that is. Fuck, do I want to get into all this shit? Planned Parenthood videos were altered, analysis finds. Planned Parenthood on Thursday gave congressional leaders and a committee that is investigating allegations of criminality. This is 2015, though. Was this really about the Leela Rose stuff, or was this like the Project Veritas stuff? I feel like this was the Project Veritas stuff. Who? Lila? What did I say? Is it pronounced Leela or Lila? It's Lila. What am I? Have I been saying Leela? It's Lila. Leela? Leela Rose? Lila Rose? I don't know what the fuck. Whatever. Who? Lila? It's Lila, like a lilac. Now I feel retarded. Fuck you. Okay. Live Action is an anti-abortion extremist organization. Jesus. In 2006, Rose and O'Keefe began undercover investigations into what she calls the abortion industry. In 2006, she would have been 17, 18 maybe? Jesus. The videos shown were heavily edited to portray Planned Parenthood employees as disobeying medical laws. Despite that not being the case, Rose was forced to take down the videos following a cease and desist from Planned Parenthood. The same year, Live Action was legally formed as a 501c3. Here are the videos. Ugh, bro, do I want to get this? You know what? Maybe I do. Undercover investigation. 13 videos. Sex trafficking at Planned Parenthood. Oh, shit. Wait, is this Lila? Pretending to be 13?
My partner in crime. If they're minors, just tell them to put down that they're students. For the most part, they want as little.
Oh man, we got the music and everything. The video you're about to see was recorded undercover at a Planned Parenthood abortion.
In January 2011, undercover investigators walked into Planned Parenthood abortion clinic in Richmond, Virginia. They told the staffer that they manage a prostitution ring of 14 and 15-year-old girls.
Wow.
Will Planned Parenthood comply with the law? Assure the pimps that they are trusted partners with the sex industry?
And we see people from, every walk of life. So, like all the girls at Paper Moon and various places around town.
Coach.
Holy shit, that was crazy. What? Did you hear that? Oh my god.
On how to circumvent parental consent laws for his underage sex slaves to get secret abortions.
The only thing that requires over 18, if they're a minor, is an abortion. But there's also ways like judicial bypasses we can get around that if you guys ever need it. Hi, you guys do STD testing? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, can we...
Prostitute.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I didn't hear I'm retarded. Can you repeat what they said? Not trolling. Yeah, when she was in the office, she was talking to the lady and she was saying that there was a... Fuck, I need like a bag to do it. Wait. Does this work? Hold on, fuck. Fuck, I can't. I need like a plastic baggie. Fuck you. Okay, sorry. Back to the prostitute. Thank God they subtitle for us. Oh, and he's a black pimp. Oh no.
I don't know. It's kind of a complicated situation. Okay. But so I think I might have an STD. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the first part of it. So I think I might need tested.
Right.
But it kind of goes. All right. So is this all confidential in here?
Yeah. It's a medical office. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why everything applies. So.
So let's assume for sake of conversation that I'm autistic. Am I to understand that you could not hear either? Correct. I have no idea what was said earlier.
Yeah, she's been trying to get me to come in here for like a while now. So, yeah, I'm just, let me see. Yeah, so I did the testing for me off the bat. But there's some, we're involved in sex work.
Okay.
So there's some other girls that we kind of manage that they kind of need help too.
Right.
At least she's been trying to.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them in here for a while, because we got to keep them safe.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Yeah.
And we see people from, I mean, every walk of life. So,
oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, and like all the girls at Paper Moon and like, you know, various places around town. So,
it's good.
No judgment, no sharing of information, like, nothing here.
That's what we were worried about, the health facility or the government, stuff like that. So, the complicated part of it, though, is some of the girls, they're around like 14, 15, and some of the girls are from like out of state, out of country. They don't know about the facilities. They don't know how to get help. I don't even know how to do it. So, like, what are your, like,
are they
teen
illegally
services?
here, or are they legally resident?
Some of them don't have, like, their residency yet or something like that. But, like, how do you guys have teen service or stuff like that?
I mean, we can give them the same information. The only thing that requires a legal guardian is an abortion.
Okay.
I mean, you can get birth control testing, like anything without a parent. The only thing that requires over 18, if they're a minor, is an abortion. But there's also ways, like judicial bypasses, we can get around that. If you guys ever need it, there is a way to avoid that.
How can we do that? Because, I mean, if they need the help, then I don't know.
And the best thing for them to do is call here or walk in, the same way you're doing. There's also online appointment scheduling. If they just have questions, want to talk to someone, they can come in, or we can talk to them over the phone. I mean, everything's confidential.
What was that? What did you say it was? Bypass?
Judicial bypass. If someone is a minor and they don't want their parents to they don't have their parents' insurance, so an abortion would show up. You fill out paperwork, and we help you kind of set it up, and then we have a specific confidential hotline that will call you at whatever number you give us and handle the whole thing. So for someone who's a minor, that's a really good option. We do them probably once or twice a month here.
Wow.
So we're pretty good at handling if someone doesn't want someone else to know or doesn't want parents. Yeah.
Well, if they're saying it's a judicial bypass, it sounds like, I don't know what she's referring to exactly, but it sounds like there's like some process codified in law that allows you to do this. It's not like they're necessarily breaking the law, no?
The abortion, how would you set up the other thing?
Well, I mean, the judicial bypass, you have to come in for what we call a pre-op visit first. It's an ultrasound, blood work, paperwork to fill out. At that time, we'll start the judicial bypass process, and then you can do some counseling with them as well. And then, like I said, that separate organization will call them on whatever number they give us and do the process, and then they come back for the actual abortion itself at a later date. So, you know, if she's taking some tests at home, already knows she's pregnant, she should come in for her pre-op visit, because it is time sensitive. The state of Virginia only lets you go to 13 weeks and 6 days at the most. And at that point, you need to go to Maryland, D.C.
13 weeks and 6 days?
They have looser laws in terms of how far you can do an abortion. So, you know, if she's going to be in the state of Virginia with us, we have to make sure she's here, got the bypass in time to actually do it legally.
That would be good. What would you recommend is the best, like birth control and all that to get on?
It depends on the woman, really. I mean, young people are usually find it difficult to take a pill every day, same exact time.
That's true, especially when they don't know that much.
If someone is a little bit older or not looking to get pregnant in the next 5 to 10 years, we have IUDs. It's an intrauterine device. It's actually this thing right here. It's placed in the uterus and it has a zip up at the top, and it protects you for 5 to 10 years. There's also the NuvaRing, which is inserted vaginally. It protects you for a month at a time. So, you know, those are options for people who want to go with pills. And we do have the pills, but we have like 15 different kinds here.
Oh, wow.
So, pretty much everything. We have condoms here for free. So we kind of got it all.
No, that's a lot of information.
And a lot of this information is also on our website, because I know I'm just like throwing a lot at you right now. If you want to visit our website, you can also book appointments through the website too.
That'd be good if we needed to,
Yeah.
Alright, that's a lot of information. Alright, so, I guess we got time is almost up. We gotta go.
Yeah, I think that's Let me give you a card.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I'm Kimberly. Thank you so much.
Okay. Epic. In January 2011, undercover investigators walked into Planned Parenthood's abortion clinic in Richmond, Virginia. They told the staff that they manage a prostitution ring of 14 and 15-year-old girls. Well, they didn't really say that. Will they comply with the law, assure the pimp they are trusted partners with the sex industry, coach the pimp on how to circumvent parental consent laws for his underage sex slaves to get secret abortions? Based. All right. This went to the Supreme Court and they had to pay $2 million. Wait, what? Supreme Court live action Planned Parenthood. Wait, a civil case? Or was it some... the company was CMP versus Planned Parenthood. The CMP released edited videos. The discussions made it appear as if Planned Parenthood intended to profit from fetal tissue, although the fully unedited videos instead show that Planned Parenthood requested only a fee to cover costs without any profit. A grand jury in Harris County, Texas took no action against Planned Parenthood, but indicated Delayden and a second CMP employee indicted them, on felony charges of tampering with governmental records and attempting to purchase human organs. Wait, what? No! While they were, what? Those charges were dropped 6 months later, though. Okay, but in March 2017, Delayden and the second CMP employee were charged with 15 felonies in California, one for each of the people whom they had filmed without consent, and one for criminal conspiracy to invade privacy. And then Planned Parenthood sued CMP and Delayden for fraud and invasion of privacy, asserting the videos were deceptively edited to create a false impression of wrongdoing. Oh, shit. Is that why I'm debating in Irvine? He's an anti-abortion activist who worked for Live Action. Oh, Lila's organization before founding the Irvine, California-based Center for Medical Progress. Is that why they work with the UCI school? Because they're nearby? Oh, shit. Attorney General Bontas hears felony conviction for criminal invasion of privacy. Oh, over the recording of those videos. January 28th, 2025. The debate is literally hosted by a college's pro-life group. Hell yes, that's what I want. That's what I need. Give me that brutal audience. I will read all this then. Fuck it. So here's a felony conviction. Okay, so it was a plea deal. Planned Parenthood hired Fusion GPS. Uh-oh. Don't tell Rob Noor. Oh, no. These are the guys who reached out to Steele for the dossier that Hillary Clinton... Oh, my God. How deep does this rabbit hole go? Injunction against further publication of videos. An injunction in July 15th. No, it seemed to be from publishing anyway videos they'd obtained. Wait, new video? So they can they host the old one or? Fuck, I don't want to go too deep into this guy. Yeah, actually, I don't know if it's worth going into this guy at all. The Supreme Court rejected their case. Okay. Criminal charges. Okay. You know what? Never mind. Back up. Don't care about... Well, fuck, wait.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Leah Raymond. I'm a junior here at Georgetown, and I'm also co-directing the upcoming Cardinal O'Connor Conference on Life. It is my honor to welcome you all to our debate on abortion this evening.
Conference on
Before
Life.
we begin, just a few quick announcements. I would like to remind you of our speech and expression policy. Georgetown University is committed to standards promoting speech and expression that foster the exchange of ideas and opinions. While it is recognized that not everyone may share the same views as our speakers tonight, it is expected that everybody in attendance at this event respect the right of the speakers to share their perspectives and ideas by not causing a disruption to the event's activities. Throughout the duration of this event, you are allowed to use your cell phones to take photos, but we kindly ask you to refrain from any videoing of the events. The debate is being recorded in full and will be posted online. To that end, please be advised that the event is being recorded by the event organizers and portions of the audiovisual recording may be broadcast at a later time. Your entry into this area constitutes your consent to possibly being filmed, photographed, or video recorded.
Okay.
Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our moderators for the evening, Elizabeth Oliver and Max Wolfer-Morovic.
Clap up.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming tonight to Georgetown University in this beautiful Fisher's Colloquium Room. My name is Elizabeth Oliver, and I serve as the president of Georgetown University Right to Life, as well as the co-director for this year's annual Cardinal O'Connor Conference on Life, the largest student-run pro-life conference in the nation, taking place this Saturday. So if you have not yet registered, there is still time. As a university club, we focus on speakers, service, and socials. Our members volunteer at local crisis pregnancy centers, like the Northwest Center, founded by Georgetown alumni in 1981, and we hold service
Wait, what college am I? I'm going to UCI, not Georgetown. Okay.
events like diaper drives to help support women and their children. Feel free to reach out to me or the other board members of Right to Life after the event to get more involved. Tonight, we are so pleased to host this debate titled, Should Abortion Be Legal? I, along with my fellow Georgetown colleague Max, will help moderate. Before we begin, I would like to thank Georgetown University for supporting our group in organizing this event, especially in such a short time frame. I'm deeply honored to now introduce the speaker of the pro-life position. Lila Rose is the founder and president of Live Action, a pro-life organization committed to revealing the truth about abortion and advocating for the rights of society's most vulnerable, the unborn. She established Live Action in 2003 at the age of 15, driven by a mission to expose the harsh realities of abortion. Her organization, Live Action, boasts the largest online presence in the pro-life movement, reaching 40 million per month and over 2.3 billion lifetime video views. Lila Rose was called messenger-in-chief of the pro-life movement by Vice News and the face of the millennial anti-abortion movement by The Atlantic. She's the author of Fighting for Life, Becoming a Force for Change in a Wounded World, which you can buy at the table in the back after the event. And she hosts the Lila Rose podcast. Lila has devoted her life to ending abortion and making America a more welcoming place for families. She is truly an inspiration to young Americans, and especially to college students dedicated to strengthening the pro-life movement. Please join me in welcoming Lila Rose.
Damn.
And now, I would like to pass the microphone off to my colleague Max, who will introduce himself as well as our other esteemed speaker.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. I want to start by giving a special thank you to Elizabeth, who, as my fellow moderator, did a ton of work with logistics. I'm just a talking head here. She did a ton of work behind the scenes, so please a quick round of applause for her. My name is Max Wolfer-Morovic, and I'm a freshman here at Georgetown, originally from California. Before coming to Georgetown, I was a competitive high school debater, and while I'm still getting my bearings here, I've gotten involved with a few student organizations, namely the College Democrats, the Alexander Hamilton Society, and in particular, the Philonomosian Debate Society, Georgetown's foremost debate group focused on promoting free exchange of ideas and driving forward crucial conversations related to business and politics. I personally am pro-choice and have long been deeply interested in abortion discourse, particularly on the philosophical side. It's a privilege to get the chance to help moderate a discussion between such accomplished and intelligent people, and it's a personal honor to introduce our speaker on the pro-choice position. Dr. Mary Ann Franks is a distinguished legal scholar and advocate focused on civil rights, technology, and free speech. She serves as the Eugene L. and Barbara A. Bernard Professor in Intellectual Property, Technology, and Civil Rights Law at the George Washington University Law School, focusing on family law, First and Second Amendment law, law and technology, and criminal law. Dr. Franks is the president and legislative and tech policy director of the Cyber Civil Rights Initiative, the leading U.S.-based nonprofit organization dedicated to combating image-based sexual abuse, and has advised the federal government, state and federal lawmakers, and tech companies on privacy, free expression, and safety issues. She worked with lawmakers on what would later become the SHIELD Act, which passed the House in 2021 as part of the...
What did that sound like? She got a PhD to look at child porn? Is that what I just heard there? Dun play the Dokes meme.
The Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act. Dr. Franks is the author of the award-winning book, The Cult of the Constitution. Her second book, Fearless Speech, was published in October 2024. She holds a JD from Harvard Law School and a doctorate from Oxford University, where she studied as a Rhodes Scholar. She's an affiliate fellow with the Yale Law School Information Society Project, a fellow with the Center for the Defense of Academic Freedom, and is admitted to practice in the U.S. Supreme Court and the District of Columbia. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Franks.
We'll now begin with our opening keynotes. Lila Rose will begin with 7 minutes, followed by a 7-minute keynote of Dr. Franks. Thank you.
Oh my God, it's one of those debates. How long is this? Or this was 8 months ago.
Thank you so much, Dr. Franks, and thank you so much to Max and Elizabeth and everyone here for joining this evening. The question we are addressing tonight is this: should abortion be legal? Or to put it more simply, should murder be legal? The word abortion is a euphemism, and it is surrounded by other euphemisms like choice or healthcare. But let us speak plainly and define our terms.
Okay.
Abortion is the intentional killing of an innocent human life prior to birth.
Wow.
It involves dismembering a baby limb by limb, suctioning a baby to death, starving them to death through chemical abortion, or lethally injecting poison into their hearts or heads. These are not medical procedures to restore health. They are acts of violence that end the lives of human beings that are living. And in America, we kill over 2,800 preborn children.
What is this? Wait, who is this? Who runs this organization now? We wanted to follow up on the post that we recently made about a security incident at TwitchCon San Diego. As many of you know, at the 2025 TwitchCon San Diego event, one of our valued creators, Emaru, was assaulted by an attendee during a meet and greet event. Although Twitch works very hard to try to keep TwitchCon attendees safe and to prevent incidents like this from happening, we failed to do so. We failed to do both things in this case. To keep Emaru safe and to prevent the assault from happening. We deeply regret the distress we caused for Emaru, our other creators, and the entire community. In recognition of Emaru's advocacy, Twitch will be making a donation to support nonprofit organizations working to prevent sexual violence. More details on that to follow soon. The Hassan Strat? What? What? Dono Drive.
Every single day, nearly 1 million children every year. This is the greatest human rights crisis of our time. If the preborn are human beings, and it is obvious that they are, then abortion is not just a private choice, it is homicide. Let's begin with the most simple distillation of the case against abortion, this logical syllogism. Number one, it is always wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human being. Premise. Number two, another premise, abortion intentionally kills an innocent human being. And therefore the conclusion, abortion is wrong and it should be illegal. In short, killing preborn human beings should be illegal for all the same reasons that killing born human beings should be illegal. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution is clear. It states, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. The amendment prohibits states from denying the equal protection of the laws to, quote, any person, unquote. When it was ratified in 1868.
Why does she do this 14th Amendment argument? Like, you can do this. You can deny things. You just have to pass like a very high threshold to do it, right? Like, for instance, we have women's only gyms, but there's like a reason why the state might have that. Or like there are cases where children don't have the same rights as adults do, but there are reasons for that, right? This is your rational basis review, your scrutiny review or whatever for laws. She really leans into it. I don't know who gave her this 14th Amendment argument, but she really leans into it.
The word person had a settled public meaning that included all human beings, including preborn children. At that time, 3/4 of the states had already criminalized abortion at all stages of pregnancy. The same Ohio legislature which ratified the 14th Amendment.
Wait, is that true? Hold on.
68, the word person had a denying the equal protection of.
Fuck, I should have read. Is Dobbs the abortion one? I don't remember the name of
the laws to, quote, any person, unquote. When it was ratified in 1868, the word person had a settled public meaning that included all human beings, including preborn children. At that time, 3/4 of the states had already criminalized abortion at all stages of pregnancy.
In 68 what? I just want to hear that. That's a legal argument. In
any person.
1868, 3/4 of states criminalized all stages of abortion. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it is. I have to look at it.
Unquote. When it was ratified in 1868, the word person had a settled public meaning that included all human beings, including preborn children. At that time, 3/4 of the states had already criminalized abortion at all stages of pregnancy. The same Ohio legislature which ratified the 14th Amendment declared that abortion at any stage was, quote, unquote, child murder. Their conclusion was unequivocal. Quote, let it be proclaimed to the world that the willful killing of a human being at any stage of its existence is murder, end quote. All adults do not want to use their body to birth. It involves dismembering a baby in our term. Abortion is a euphemism, and
I clicked the thing. Imagine quoting anything from Ohio. Big mistake.
Abortion at all stages of pregnancy. The same Ohio legislature which ratified the 14th Amendment declared that abortion at any stage was, quote, unquote, child murder. Their conclusion was unequivocal. Quote, let it be proclaimed to the world that the willful killing of a human being at any stage of its existence is murder, end quote. The structure of the argument is simple. The 14th Amendment's use of the word person guarantees due process and equal protection to all members of the human species.
Oh, maybe other people have cited this 14th Amendment thing? Just curious what the this quote. Oh, these are all the same arguments. In 1867, Ohio legislature reported that no opinion could be more erroneous than to think that to destroy the embryo before that period of quickening is not child murder. They further declared, let it be proclaimed to the world and let it be impressed upon the conscience of every woman in the land that the willful killing of a human being at any stage is murder. Bill. What bill is this? 5. Oh, man, we really like this guy's book. Who's Craddock? An anti-abortion pro-life author? Craddock, author, Ohio, abortion. Who the fuck is this dude? Is he the same by FAP abortion? FAP? Oh, Josh Craddock, an anti-abortion legal scholar. Oh, this is his little legal article. 33 pages. Fuck, what was the quote? Let it be proclaimed to the world. I just want to know the source of that quote. And let it be impressed upon the conscience of every woman in the land that... By the way, I know that you all agree with me at this point because we're so based. By Jesse Sumter. He says that he wrote this article. I don't... Why are you quoting a book quoting a person? Why not just quote the person? I don't like it when people do this. It pisses me off. That's okay. All right, who knows? Okay. Is murder. 112. Ugh. What it means, like it's the same as the previous source, right? (1867) Ohio Senate, Appendix 233. Is that what this is what this is referring to, right? The fuck is this? Jesus Christ. The world. No? Proclaimed? Wait, what was the quote? They concluded their report, every woman of the world. The bill passed both houses of the Ohio legislature by April 1867. I just wanted that quote. Can I not have that quote? I just want the quote. This is for the oh no, this is the Dobbs decision too. It's citing and this is an amicus brief to the Dobbs decision. I'm fucking retarded. I don't know why I'm just deserve to fucking die. Okay. Jesus Christ. I'm literally clicking through to this. Wait, what is that citation? What does that mean? What is 1867 Ohio Senate what is that? Appendix 233? What is this? Find me that. Find me that quote. Not in this guy's fucking paper or political article. What is this? Ohio senators also means, would you say Ohio senator? That means state legislature, right? Because wouldn't you say senator from Ohio? That would mean the U.S. legislature, right? I guess those senates wouldn't be happy living today. I just want to know, I just want the source of the quote. Here. What's the quote here? Boom, boom, boom. Here's this. And then Control F, proclaimed. Let it be proclaimed to the world and let it be impressed upon the conscience of every woman in the land that the willful killing of a human being at any stage of its existence is murder. And the bill passed both houses of the Ohio. I'm just curious where that quote comes from. The committee repudiated the ridiculous distinction in the punishment of abortion before and after quickening. They asserted that no opinion could be more erroneous than to think that to destroy the embryo before the period of quickening is not child murder. They concluded their report. Let it be proclaimed to the world. And let it be. I'm just curious. I just want to read. What is this report? 111, 109. It's journals. No, stop. Stop. Don't just Google the first thing in quotes and then link me. That's literally what I'm reading. SFB 7, motherfucker. Check for bills passed at the time. Well, this isn't going to be in the bill. This sounds like discussion they had in the bill. But it sounds like the discussion comes from whatever this, I don't know if this is appendix or whatever this is, this 1867 Ohio Senate, some like recorded like notes or fuck, they're quoting his paper. Quoting the 1867 Ohio Senate J Appendix 233. What is that? I don't know what that is. You got to go to the Illinois Library? Why Illinois? Ohio Senate Journal. Ohio Senate Journal. Journals. Ohio Senate. It's this meme.
Nice argument.
Good one. I need to go to 18. No, it's not. Is it not going to be online? That's where the copy is? It's somewhere in this bullshit? No, it has to be. Why would it be? It should be in Ohio. This is from the Ohio Senate. Appendix to the Journal of the Senate of the State of Ohio for the second session of the 52nd General Assembly and the fifth session under the new Constitution commencing Monday, January 5th, 1857. 1857? I thought it was 1867. Oh my God. Ohio Senate report. Oh, okay, hold on. No, stop. 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 Okay. Close, 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 Close. Wait, don't. Okay, this guy. Let it be proclaimed to the world. Okay. Their Senate report elucidated the purposes of the statute observing the alarming and increasing frequency of abortion by a class of quacks who make child murder a trade, pointing out that, quote, physicians have now arrived at the unanimous opinion that the fetus in utero is alive from the very moment of conception. The committee repudiated the ridiculous distinction in the punishment of abortion before and after quickening. They asserted that no opinion could be more erroneous than to think that to destroy the embryo before the period of the quickening is not child murder. They concluded their report, let it be proclaimed to the world and let it be impressed upon the conscience of every woman in the land that the willful killing of a human being at any stage of its existence is murder. The bill passed both houses in the Ohio legislature by April of 1860. Okay. Now, where is this in here? Proclaimed. Please work. Yes, okay. Okay. This is an additional report from the Select Committee to whom it was referred. SB number 285. What does that mean? Some kind of bill? Senate bill? The alarming and increasing frequency of the crimes which the bill reported by the Select Committee is calculated to arrest, or at least to diminish, has induced us in a special report to give some data which have a bearing upon the subject, as well as some reasons why a more stringent law should be enacted. I should have read through. I feel like I read Dobbs a long time ago, but I didn't know any law or anything by then, so I just went in one ear and out the other. It has been ascertained by statistics carefully prepared that in one of the eastern states, the number of children born alive of Native American parentage is less than the deaths of the same class of persons, and that the small increase of population which the census shows is the result of immigration of the larger number of children born of foreign parentage. Your committee believe that if the facts could be ascertained, the statistics of Ohio would not show a much better state of things. It is doubtless within the observation of most of the members of this Senate that in our cities and villages, and to some extent in our farming townships, the more wealthy and intelligent class of married persons limit the number of their children to 1 or 2, and it is known to physicians, if not to the public at large, that this state of facts is, in most cases, the result of induced abortions. The physician, with the implied understanding that all secrets that come to his knowledge through his professional relations are forever sacred and never to be divulged, is called upon to treat the 1,000 diseases which are the direct result of this criminal practice and is made the confessor of its unhappy victims. We are happy to say that regular physicians are not responsible for the state of things described. The American Medical Association, composed of delegates from all the states and medical colleges, appointed a committee to report upon this evil, and at its annual meeting in Boston in June 1865 awarded a gold medal to Professor Horatio Robinson Storer for an able essay upon this subject. From this essay, we have drawn many of the facts presented in this report. The Ohio Medical Society also, at its last meeting, made an appeal to this legislature to enact more stringent laws upon the subject. It is true, however, that in all of our cities and in many of our villages, there is a class of quacks who make child murder a trade, and we regret to add they are too well patronized and sustained to a considerable extent by public opinion. How crazy is it? This is 180 years ago, I guess, that the argument that he opens with here for why abortion is bad is because of native birth rates being too low. What is it? History repeats itself? Kind of crazy, huh? Jesus. The native-born Ohioans are being replaced by these goddamn immigrants. Oh, no. Can you link what you're reading? I think that this was partially relied upon in Dobbs, right? Or at the very least, this was cited by that one professor for his amicus curiae. Curiae? Only a year ago, a professor of this infamous trade was convicted of a manslaughter through the death of one of his victims and sentenced to the penitentiary. But such was the demoralized state of public sentiment in that city that such influences were brought to bear upon our excellent governor as to secure his pardon, and in this statement we desire to cast no imputation upon the governor, while the facts as presented to him he could not well have decided otherwise. Your committee are of opinion that the prevalence of this crime in Ohio is due to a considerable extent to the ridiculous distinction which the law has made in the penalty it inflicts, depending upon whether the offense is committed before or after the period of quickening. Okay, wait, so who is... This is not a senator, like a state senator or anything. It sounds like this is a witness or an expert guy to testify. Like, maybe? But I'm just curious. Okay, sorry. What year is this? 1864? Your committee are of opinion that the prevalence of crime in Ohio is due to a considerable extent to the ridiculous nature of laws made. Okay, depending on whether the offense is committed before or after the period of the quickening is when what the heartbeat started, they said way back then. What was the quickening pregnancy? Feel fetal movement in her uterus. Okay. So 16 to 25 weeks. Why do we care what retards in 1867 thought? Well, because I believe that the Supreme Court relied upon what they called their original interpretation of abortion laws and everything way back then. And you heard Lila Rose say that 3/4 of states had abortion banned or whatever, but I don't know if that's the case. I think most of them had abortion banned after the fetus was felt, but I don't know 100%, and I haven't like looked in hardcore to all of this. Physicians have now arrived at the unanimous opinion that the fetus in utero is alive from the very moment of conception. Dr. Percival declares that to extinguish the first spark of life is a crime of the same nature, both against our Maker and society, as to destroy an infant, a child, or a man. The erroneous opinion has been entertained by the unthinking, and our law favored the idea that the life of the fetus commences only with quickening, and hence the conclusion that to destroy the embryo before that period is not child murder, but only a venial offense. Venial? No opinion could be more erroneous. Quickening is generally purely mechanical. The uterus, in consequence of its enlargement, rises from the cavity of the pelvis to that of the abdomen. Hence the sensation of motion. The period of quickening is uncertain. Some women are not conscious of fetal motion during the whole period of pregnancy. Others are sensible of it much before the usual time. Physiological researches have demonstrated that it exists in the early stages of uterogestation, but it is too feeble to be perceived by the mother. The law now is settled, and it has arrived in most pithy and expressive language that quick with child is having conceived, but our statutes have made an unnatural and unscientific distinction. Let it be proclaimed to the world, and let it be impressed upon the conscience of every woman in the land, that the willful killing of a human being at any stage of its existence is murder. Criminal abortion in America, page 5. What the fuck is this? Why is this so normal? Why is this nested quote thing? Why does this show up so much? It actually drives me fucking crazy. I'm not going to hedge anymore. I think this is bad writing. This quote is not from, first of all, I don't even think it's from a Ohio legislature. I think that this is a report that they had from the select committee. It sounds like this is a person writing in. Basically, it wouldn't be an amicus brief or whatever, but it sounds like it's somebody else writing in. We trust the Senate will pardon us for having occupied so much of the time in consideration of this delegate. Like people writing in for their opinion. So not only is this not even from the legislature, it's not even from the guy writing. He's quoting from, it sounds like an anti-abortion essay, which is fine, I guess, but what? I don't like this. I don't like the quotes of the quotes of the quote where like I quote like, oh, like it's literally this. Except not even, because this is a better way of doing it. This is actually like a good way. I respect this. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take is a Wayne Gretzky quote that Michael Scott is quoting. I appreciate that. He likes the quote and he said it, but he's also saying where it came from. That's good. I understand this better. As opposed to let it be proclaimed to the world. Let it be, okay. The bill, okay. This was not from, I don't even think this was from the committee. It sounds like something being written into the committee, if I can understand this correctly. And then it's not even the guy himself who is saying that. He's quoting from Horatio R. Storer. From an essay called On Criminal Abortion in America. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong necessarily with quoting this guy. I'm sure he's fine. I just don't like the Horatio R. Storer. Okay. I just don't like the I feel like the quoting is so disingenuous. It's not, I feel like. The quoting is disingenuous. They're trying to convey more authority than they actually really have here. Does this show up in the Dobbs Supreme Court decision? Bro, do you have any idea how fucking tedious it is to correctly quote everything when writing a piece of paper? What do you mean, fuck you? This guy is a legal professor publishing in the Harvard Journal of Law and Public Policy. This guy is being quoted by other people. He's a Harvard law guy, right? There's no bullshit. You should know where your quotes come from. It's your fucking job. I can do this. I can Google random quotes and stick them in a paper. You're the one that's supposed to be able to contextualize everything to make me, the layman, understand. Right? Listen to how much stronger you're selling. How much different does it sound? This is what the Ohio legislature thought, by the way, in 1867. And it's like, wow, they had that quote? Let it be proclaimed to the world and let it be impressed upon the conscience of every woman in the land that the willful killing of a human being at any stage of its existence is murder. Okay, damn, the Ohio State Legislature really thought that it was murder. Well, that wasn't actually by the legislature, the whole legislature. It was by a committee in the Senate. It's like, okay, well, that's a bit more narrow, but fine, the committee in the Senate. Well, actually, it wasn't even by the committee in the Senate. It was by a guy writing into the committee in the Senate to encourage them to pass a bill banning abortion. And it's like, okay, well, that's a lot more narrow. And then who was the guy writing? Okay, well, it wasn't actually by a guy writing in a brief to the select committee to present to the state legislature. It was actually an anti-abortion essay that was being quoted by that guy who was writing a brief into the state legislature, select committee, that okay, but that it's so much. But see, the problem is that listen to how she's this is what's happening on this, right? So how is she quoting it?
All human beings, including preborn children, protection of the laws. The amendment prohibits states from denying the equal protection of the laws to, quote, any person, unquote. When it was ratified in 1868, the word person had a settled public meaning that included all human beings, including preborn children. At that time, 3/4 of the states had already criminalized abortion at all stages of pregnancy. The same Ohio legislature which ratified the 14th Amendment declared that abortion at any stage was, quote, unquote, child murder. Their conclusion was unequivocal.
Their conclusion?
Quote, let it be proclaimed to the world that the willful killing of a human being at any stage of its existence is murder, end quote.
That wasn't the Ohio State Legislature, and it wasn't their statement on the bill. It sounds like it was an essay written in or a brief written in to a select committee of the Ohio State Legislature that was quoting from another guy who I think that was... It's Criminal Abortion in America, page 5. I'm sorry. It's just this. I find this it's so much writing. Finkelstein did this a ton. It drove me crazy. Some of the Supreme Court justices do this when they quote things. They have quote or they quote a thing, but then when you go to the thing, it's just not proper, right? It's bad writing, or it's dishonest. I don't know. Sorry. Okay, let me read. I don't want to do this. Fuck this. Okay, where was I? When the impregnated ovum leaves the ovary and enters the womb, it becomes attached to that organ by a network of vessels through which it receives its nourishment from the mother, just as after birth it is nourished from its mother's breast, and it had an independent existence as much in one case as the other. The erroneous opinion prevails very generally that a woman can throw off the product of conception, especially in the early stages, without moral guilt and without danger to herself. Oh, and then also because it seems to me that the argument is actually the exact opposite from what they're saying. It sounds like this guy's trying to argue against what the common knowledge is at the time. It seems like the common knowledge at the time is, oh, well, until the quickening, you can have an abortion. And this guy's arguing against that to try to convince this select committee, to try to convince the Ohio legislature to pass a different law, is what it sounds like. Maybe, unless I'm misunderstanding it. Let it be proclaimed to the world. Dustin, there's also kind of a byproduct of citation format. The original citation to Ohio is improper and is cited as if It's the words of the legislature, which it isn't. There's a different citation format they should have used. You're right to call it out. Well, no, I don't think it's a byproduct of the citation format. I think, like you said, the citation is improper. The citation should have been different. Okay. I don't even know what the fuck this is. No fact is established. Okay, hold on. That a woman can throw off the product of conception. She basically made a quote up that doesn't. No, the quote exists. It's just not. Let me just finish this. I'm missing something. Okay. The erroneous opinion prevails very generally that a woman can throw off the product of conception, especially in the very early stages, without moral guilt. The erroneous opinion prevails very generally that a woman can throw off the product of conception, especially in the very early stages, without moral guilt and without danger to herself. That is a dangerous and fatal conclusion. No fact is better established than one, that section something, a larger proportion of women die during or in consequence of an abortion than during or in consequence of childbed at the full term of pregnancy. 2, a very much larger proportion of women become confirmed invalids, perhaps for life. The reasons for this are apparent in every reflecting mind. During the whole period of uterogestation, nature is preparing the system of the mother for bringing into the world a living child. Certain changes are taking place which render the accouchement at the full time comparatively safe. Any interference with nature's law results in evils innumerable, among which are alarming and dangerous hemorrhages, inflammation of the womb and its appendages, displacement or prolapsus of the organ, which frequently continue for life and render it a burden instead of a blessing, and not infrequently death is the direct result of this interference with nature's laws. Who of us has not seen, within the circle of our observation, pale, sad, suffering invalids, with the light of life all gone from their countenances, their very life a burden, and their homes made desolate by one act in violation of nature's laws, committed perhaps without a knowledge of its consequences? But we have said that death is frequently the direct result of induced abortion. In 34 cases of criminal abortion reported by Tardian, where the history was known, 22 were followed by death as a consequence. We are aware that this is an unusual mortality, but we know that death is a very frequent result. Women frequently become sterile after one or more induced abortions, or, if they do conceive, the habit is formed and miscarriage takes place spontaneously. It is a melancholy fact that this crime is more frequent among the educated, the fashionable and wealthy, than among the poor and illiterate. The demands of society and fashionable life, the desire of freedom from care and home duties and responsibilities, and the absence of a proper understanding of the dangers and criminality of the act lead our otherwise amiable sisters to the commission of this crime. Do they realize that in avoiding the duties and responsibilities of married life, they are, in effect, living in a state of legalized prostitution? Wait, how is this argument not changed in like 200 years? This is all fucking weirdo. We need to have more babies from rich people. Women are whores that are abdicating their responsibilities. Children are like a punishment. The desire of freedom from care and home duty. Okay, in the absence of a proper understanding of the dangers of criminality. Okay, legalized prostitution. Shall we permit our broad and fertile prairies to be settled only by the children of aliens, not the mass migration? If not, we must, by proper legislation and by the diffusion of a correct public sentiment, endeavor to suppress a crime which has become so prevalent. We trust the Senate will pardon us for having occupied so much of its time in the consideration of this delicate subject. Its importance seemed to demand no less at our hands. We are aware of the difficulties attending all legislation on the subject, but we think the passage of the bills which we have the honor to submit will at least do something towards the correction of public sentiment and the suppression of the crime. Okay, maybe these three guys were senators on the committee at least. American political family. Toland Jones, Henry West. Who the fuck are these guys? Ohio. Henry West. William Henry West. '66 to '68. Was this authored in '67, or because then he would have been the Ohio Attorney General. Well, it looks like he was never part of the. Just on that. No, okay, here we go. Member of the Ohio House of Representatives. Only until 1860, and then from 62 to 64, and then from 64 to 65. How do they cite it in the Supreme Court? Fuck. You said Dobbs has a similar quote. What do they say? Control F, Ohio. Wait, what did you say their quote was? Another Trump Republican is a child fucker? Bezed. Somebody said there was a similar quote in Dobbs. What was the quote? Whoever you were in chat, fuck you. I know you're out there. Okay. This is a waste of time rabbit hole. Jesus Christ.
The structure of the argument is simple. The 14th Amendment's use of the word person guarantees due process and equal protection to all members of the human species. The preborn are members of the human species from the moment of fertilization. Therefore, the 14th Amendment protects the preborn. Senator Jacob Howard, who sponsored the amendment in the Senate, declared—
They said page 81? Oh shit, you're right, they did. Wait. Also, wait, quick meme. What do we got, Benny boy?
Is evil, Candace Owens. I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil.
Uh-oh.
It is evil what she's doing right now.
She's being mean to Jews?
And I say that, again.
But what
Because
like, I didn't opine on whether it's evil or not, but my position is it's really none of my business. And
why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business? I mean, you comment on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but
what a weak ass loser fuck position. God, even Ben Shapiro realized how retarded the shit he's run into is.
Yeah, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
Wow, very literal. Oh my God, she's doing the thing, the zoom in and then zoom out. Like you're very literal, very precise on some things, and then you get like super vague and ambiguous, right? Well, isn't it kind of like this? Is she doing exactly that? Well, okay, not exactly that. But I mean, like, wouldn't you comment on this? I'm not the mom of the internet. The fuck? What the fuck are we even talking about?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, yes.
Okay. Like I said, I don't take in that content, which is an honest statement. I don't have time.
And she hits Ben up with the ultimate conservative debate owner. Don't know anything about it. I'm just a fucking blondie bimbo fuck that doesn't know fuck all about anything going on. But actually, I'm not a blondie bimbo fuck. I don't want you to think that way. I'm actually very sharp and very intelligent, and I'm specifically avoiding answering anything about these things that I absolutely know so much about just because I'm here to gaslight the fuck out of you. Gatekeep, gaslight, girl boss.
In the murder of Charlie Kirk, yes.
Okay. Like I said, I don't take in that content, which is an honest statement. I don't have time to watch Candace's show.
I believe you. I believe you. But the point that I'm making is that
what I
friendship should not, in our business, I think it's important. Listen, friendship should not trump.
We don't even know each other.
I understand, but even with...
I don't know you like that, Chief. Friendship? Bro, I don't even know what friendship means.
Friendship should not trump. We don't even know each other.
I understand, but even with Tucker, friendship should not trump our manifest requirement to speak out when people do and say things that are both detrimental to conservatism and morally wrong.
Okay, so I don't totally disagree, but I think the way of handling that, at least for me, is much different. So I saw things go south between you and...
Ooh. Make it personal.
What the fuck?
Uh-oh.
What is this bullshit? Bro!
Declared that the amendment's purpose was to disable a state from depriving not merely a citizen of the United States, but any person, whoever he may be, of life, liberty, and property without due process, and to ensure that even the lowest and, quote, most despised of the human race were guaranteed equal protection as persons. Even Justice Harry Blackmun, who wrote the majority opinion in Roe v. Wade, admitted this. He stated, quote, if this suggestion of fetal personhood is established, the appellant's case, of course, collapses, for the fetus's right to life would then be guaranteed specifically by the 14th Amendment. If we concede that the preborn are human beings, and the science is unequivocal that they are, then our laws permitting abortion are unconstitutional. They deny the preborn the equal protection of homicide laws and subject them to discriminatory, lethal treatment. To quote my esteemed debate partner, Dr. Franks, from her insightful book, The Cult of the Constitution, quote, the only rights any of us should have are the rights that all of us should have. If some of us are saved, if only some of us are saved, all of us are lost. Dr. Franks goes on to write, quote, the 14th Amendment makes clear that it is impermissible and illogical to read the Constitution selectively regarding which rights it protects and whose rights it protects. The 14th Amendment strikes me as the constitutional expression of the golden rule, end quote. Science affirms that life begins at fertilization. From the moment of conception, a new, unique, and whole human being exists. This is not a matter of opinion, but of observable fact. Keith Moore, professor of anatomy at the University of Toronto, writes in the textbook, The Developing Human, Clinical-Oriented Embryology, quote, human life begins at fertilization, the process during which a male gamete or sperm unites with a female gamete or oocyte to form a single cell called...
Is it gamete? I thought it was gamete. More like gay meat, like my G-A-Y-M-E-A-T. Woohoo, yeah.
Zygote. This highly specialized totipotent cell marked the beginning of each of us as a unique individual, end quote. And then, quote, a zygote is the beginning of a new human being, end quote. Dr. Micheline Matthews-Roth of Harvard Medical School said in testimony to the United States Senate Judiciary Committee that, quote, it is scientifically correct to say that human life begins at conception, end quote. By 22 days, the baby's heart is beating. At 6 weeks from fertilization, brain activity can be recorded and bone formation begins. At the beginning of the 9th week from fertilization, the baby will have grown from a single cell into nearly 1 billion cells. She will suck her thumb and swallow, grasp an object, touch her face, sigh, and stretch. Around 20 weeks from fertilization, with a lot of help, babies have survived outside the womb.
Scientifically, preborn children are human beings, and every human being is a human person. Every human being, regardless of size, level of development, or dependency, possesses inherent dignity. History has shown us the horrors of denying personhood to certain groups of human beings. Whether it was African Americans in the Dred Scott decision, or Jews during the Holocaust, or even women who were denied the right to vote, every time that society strips a group of humans of their personhood, the consequences are catastrophic. Abortion is the latest chapter in this long history of injustice. Should abortion be legal? No, it is clearly wrong, and it is a direct violation of the 14th Amendment's promise of equal protection under the law.
Oh my God, she loves that 14th Amendment thing.
Is not a private decision or an exercise of bodily autonomy. Bodily autonomy is very important, but it gives zero permission to kill innocent human beings. Furthermore, parents have natural obligations to their own children, and these obligations include the activity of the parents' bodies. In other words, children do in fact have rights to the bodies of their parents. If the parent
They do not.
cannot care for the child, they cannot kill or abandon the child, but must see that their parental obligations are safely transferred to another party. Tonight, I urge you to stand with the preborn, the most vulnerable members of our human family. To do otherwise is to betray our Constitution, our conscience, and our shared humanity. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Lila Rose, for your opening remarks, and we will now move to Dr. Frank's opening.
Lila, yeah.
I am less tall than Max is. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Lila. As you'll have heard from the introduction,
That little kid with brain cancer that Trump deputized and his dad, who's running for Congress, harassed a lady at a voting location. Wait, what?
No,
not the kid too. What? No. Don't ever harass me or my son ever again.
I don't care if she don't vote for me. She's got a nasty attitude.
You have a nasty one too. You was leaning on my car for what?
No. The way he comes out.
You have a nasty one too. You was leaning on my car for what?
Because you don't know how to drive? Is that what the
Because
problem is?
I don't know how to drive. You were stopped in the middle of a lane with no signals on. With no signals
You're a
on.
typical stereotypical black woman that nobody likes to deal with.
Okay.
Okay, you are a Jasmine Crockett type.
Okay.
And look at you. What? Look at you.
Yeah, he said I'm Jasmine Crockett
You're
type.
a Jasmine Crockett type.
Got
All
it.
that nasty masculinity needs to go.
Got it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Anything you want to say, that's fine. Anything you want to say to the
Anything
camera,
else?
Go ahead. I don't really care.
Anything else?
Yeah.
This is insane. For anybody. You don't know me. So how you
Crockett type.
Got
All
it.
that nasty masculinity needs to go.
Got it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Anything you want to say, that's fine. Anything you want to say to the camera,
Anything
go ahead.
else?
Go ahead. I don't really care.
Anything else?
Yeah.
This is insane. For anybody. You don't know me. So how you doing? How you doing?
What's going on? What are you going?
First of all,
Why is
who-
DJ bothered for?
Why
You know
who?
who that is?
I don't give a damn who he is.
You don't know who that is?
I don't give a damn who he is. I didn't ask who he was.
You don't need to be
that
bothered.
that don't mean
We're
nothing
not going
to
bother
me.
DJ. You need to go.
I'm not going nowhere. I came here
You're
to
being asked to
vote.
leave.
Am I being asked to leave by
Yeah.
who are you?
Yeah, you're being asked to leave right now.
Okay, so no, we'll wait on my dad to get here. I'm not bothering anybody. He came and leaned on my car because he almost hit my car, and I asked him not to do that. He said, actually, I didn't almost hit your car. I was doing something, so and so, but he didn't have any hazards
DJ's
on.
got a lot going on. He doesn't need this.
That doesn't have anything to do with me, though. You're gonna respect me, so don't worry about it. My dad's on the way. I don't play that. There is no calming anything down. My daddy on the way. I don't play that. You're not gonna lean on my car and disrespect me.
Jesus. Christ. Okay, sorry.
introduction, I am a law professor, and I'm also an advocate for women's rights. And a lot of what I've worked on for many years of my life, my work, my passion, has been focused on women and girls in particular, and about fighting for their rights to equality, particularly focused on the questions of sexual exploitation of women and girls, calling for social and legal reform when necessary to protect that. But what you wouldn't know, there's no reason that you would know this, is that I am originally from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, a pretty small place in Arkansas. I was raised a Southern Baptist, and my entire family, my community, were all pro-life. I was raised in the pro-life tradition. I have close family members who are currently active leaders in the pro-life movement. And what might be most surprising is that for most of my life, I was also pro-life, or identified that way. And a lot of the things that Lila has said so eloquently just now, I would have fully agreed with only, let's say, a decade or so ago.
Uh-oh.
So what I'd like to share with you during these opening remarks is how that changed and why that changed, and how much my experience is becoming a legal scholar, learning about the law in detail, and my efforts to both recognize and articulate the ways in which women and girls are discriminated against really did shape my new understanding of the question of abortion. Because for the longest time, I thought that the really important question, the most significant moral legal question about abortion was whether or not embryos or fetuses were fully human, and if so, what would that mean for the law?
Oh no, she's going to do the whole ass bodily autonomy argument. She's not going to do that. She's not going to do that. She's not going to do that.
And the more I learned about legal rights, the more I learned about the Constitution, the more I learned about our legal history, the more I realized that the real question is actually what kind of law, what kind of obligations do we have as a society if we believe that women and girls are fully human? Let me explain what I mean.
Fuck.
Laws of self-defense, laws of property say that the right that we all have, each of us, all of us as individuals, have to protect ourselves against uses of our bodies or our homes, even in some cases, our rights to say no to those kinds of uses, the idea that we need to consent to those kinds of uses, that is something that is reinforced by so many different aspects of our law. You think about, for instance, the law of self-defense that says if somebody is trying to hurt you and they can cause you serious bodily injury or death, you have the right to use equal force to stop them. And actually, it doesn't matter whether they're innocent, as long as the force is unlawful. If a child is pointing a gun at you, the child probably doesn't have any idea that it's posing the kind of threat that it is, but you are nonetheless entitled to save their life, even if you have to use deadly force. Now, we may not like that. That may make us uncomfortable. But that does reinforce the idea that, in fact, we have such a strong right to our own bodies, to our own life, to our own property in some cases. It's reflected, too, in the fact that if somebody wants to come inside your home, they have to be invited. And even if they're invited and they decide that they do something inside...
This seems more like a legal argument and not a moral argument like the one you went, no, I don't like, okay, this is why I don't like the self-defense argument, okay? Self-defense usually, now she provided a carve-out that can work in some extreme examples. Generally, when we speak about self-defense, okay, usually we're talking about moral agents that we're dealing with. So for instance, if a guy is choosing to kill me, if a guy is choosing to do something horrible, then we would say, oh, we have the right to defend ourselves against this. Now, you can make a carve out for people that might be engaged in some violent action, but they're unaware of this. So if a fat man is rolling down a mountain and he's going to crush you, and the only way to stop him is to shoot him with a bazooka and blow him up first before his body hits you, even though he's technically innocent and he's on his way, to you, you could blow him up with a rocket launcher and be okay, right? But if the guy is rolling towards you and you have the ability to just step out of the way and then he could land maybe injured but relatively unharmed on the ground, well, the argument for killing him recedes dramatically. The reason why I don't like the self-defense argument is because without there being a choice made by the fetus to attack the woman, which there's not, you need to make a really strong argument that the fetus leads to a decently high likelihood of at least severe injury, if not death. Otherwise, we're just arguing for killing children that are coming at us in a way that might be pretty inconvenient. Now, women get ultra triggered when you describe pregnancy as inconvenient, but that's really what we're talking about, right? Assuming there are no, like, you're not going to die, or it's not going to leave you like maimed or crippled or whatever. It's a severe inconvenience for sure, but an inconvenience nonetheless. And in most of the other cases, you're just never going to be able to make this similar argument with. You're never going to be able to make a similar argument with. You're just not going to make an argument with children like this. You're just not going to.
At your home that you don't like, you can tell them to leave. If they don't leave, you have the right to remove them by something inside your home that you inside your home. They have to be invited. And even if they're invited and they decide that they do something inside your home that you don't like, you can tell them to leave. If they don't leave, you have the right to remove them by force.
But like minimum levels of force. And I'm not even sure. I think you would have to call the cops. I don't know how that would impact my right. Like, if a 25-year-old was in your house and they were doing bad things or whatever, and you were like, you need to leave, or there's somebody breaking in, then you would probably have the right to kill them, sure. But if it's like an 8-year-old that wandered in your house, it's an 8-year-old, and they don't know any better, and they're just being retarded, I don't know if you have the right to just murder the 8-year-old. At the very least, most people I think would agree there's a moral distinction here. I'm pretty sure in a lot of places there'd be some kind of legal distinction here. I'm pretty sure.
Now that can be even if they are innocent people. That can be if they just really want to hang out with you and you just want to say no. You still have that right. We can think about how, no matter what we consider other people to be, right? We don't really debate whether or not people who are trying to come into your house or a child that might need, for instance, a organ donation, they're people. There's no dispute over that. The question, though, is when are those people, any of those people, allowed to use your body or your property in a way that you have said no to? And the law says over and over again, you can't, you can't, you can't. Even if you are the only organ donor that can save a child's life, you cannot be forced to give up that organ. You can't even be forced to have your blood drawn against your consent. You can't even be forced, if you are a parent of a child that everybody agrees is a child and that you have a parental obligation, you can't be forced to give up your life for them. Now, I know many of you who are parents would say, but you would, right? You would want that to be the case. You would judge anybody who didn't, and that is entirely fair. That, however, is a completely different question from whether or not the law says you have to. Completely different question. What the law says, what the law reinforces, that even in tragic situations, even in situations where we wish that people would hold differently, we are allowed to say no to people who want to use our bodies without our consent. we have the right to say no. We have the right to say no, and we have the right to use force to make sure that they do not do that. So if we have that right, and women are full human beings that are supposed to have all of those rights, how can it be the case that in one particular circumstance, only women, only girls who are pregnant, they alone have got to just accept the fact that someone, something, however you want to call it, person, life, whatever you want to call it, is saying, I want use of your body, I want to put your health at risk, I can potentially pose a life-threatening threat to you, and all of that rights, all those rights that we would normally recognize in any other context suddenly go away, only for pregnant women and girls, that they are not allowed to say no. They alone are not allowed to say no. It is not particularly controversial, these other things I'm talking about. The fact that we are able to say, look, is it a tragic circumstance that someone might have to die or not get the organ that they wanted or not be able to use one's house in a way that could give them shelter? These things could be tragedies. But the alternative is to tell a person that they have no right to their own bodies, and to their own homes even. So if we actually thought that women were people, really thought that they were people with full rights, we would be struck by this, and we would be struck by the idea that this debate could be called, is abortion legal? Because that's like asking, should self-defense be legal? Should protection of your home be legal? And what I would want to suggest is that there's a reason why we are constantly thinking that we should put a special burden on women and girls and make them have to justify why it is that they should be able to exert the same rights that everyone else can in every other context. And I would suggest that that is not a healthy approach. So that for me, the real question here is not should abortion be legal? It is whether it should be legal for the state to force women and girls to give birth against their will. And my answer to that question is no.
I feel you can argue along these lines. I personally don't find it compelling. But you're so far behind if you can see that it's a child, because you're making an argument to just kill a baby, and you're on such a level of I feel like you're fighting from so far behind if you're conceding immediately. Yes, we're murdering a child, we're killing a child, but I have a really good reason for killing this child. You're so far behind at that point.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Franks. We will now move on to the rebuttal period, which involves 5-minute speeches from each speaker.
I hate these. I bet this is my format too. Fuck me, dude.
Thank you, Dr. Franks, for your remarks and for this discussion, this important discussion. I want to address a few of Dr. Franks' points, her key points. First of all, she talked about the law of self-defense as a justification for abortion. And I think that she described if someone is trying to hurt you intentionally, you have the right to fight back and defend yourself.
Oh, she said intentionally, but she did say even unintentionally. And to some extent, that is true, even unintentionally, that you still have a right to self-defense, even if they're doing unintentional things.
And the reality is that the child in the womb is not trying to hurt anyone intentionally. The child in the
and is she going to sidestep the entire unintentionality argument? Because even unintentional harm that somebody might be inflicting on you, you could rise to a level of self-defense.
Womb is totally dependent on their parents, and ultimately the child has a right to live as well. So the child also has bodily rights, and the first bodily right that they have is to protect their body from lethal violence. So I don't think the law of self-defense applies here to the case of a child, because in this case the child has a right to life, and the child also has a right to the protection of their parents.
No one is talking about like the right to life. She's playing a clever game here. Right to life would be what, like a negative right, as in, the government can't take away your right to life. But we're not really talking about like a negative right here, and that it's something that needs to be protected or conserved by the government. We're talking about a positive right to another person's body. So the right to life here is really the right to your body for sustenance. I would say there's a negative or a distinction here, a big one between this positive and negative right, but I don't know if they'll get into that. But
And the second point I have too, that is a very key difference here for why the case that Dr. Franks has made does not apply to the situation of abortion, is that, and she used examples of adults not having to give their kidneys to other people, even children. You don't have to draw blood without giving your consent, all of these key aspects of bodily autonomy. The reason that this does not apply in the case of the child in the womb is that children at large, including those in the womb and those outside of the womb, have a natural right to both nourishment and protection. And this natural right is first the responsibility of the parent of that child. And so as an example, Dr. Franks might respond and say, well, if the parent doesn't want the child could drop a child off at a safe haven box or give the child up for adoption. In the case of pregnancy, you can't, unless the baby's old enough to survive, you can't deliver the baby and provide that child, give that child up. But the response to this would be that the child's natural habitat is the womb. The child has a natural right to his or her mother's womb. The womb is actually designed to bring that child into existence and to
how weird could you get with this argument? Like, am I wrong, or did she just make like an argument for rape? Am I crazy on that? Like, imagine somebody just walks up to her and she's ripping her clothes. She's like, excuse me. And I'm like, sorry, my dick is going in you right now. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, well, your vagina was literally made for a dick, right? I don't consent. It doesn't matter if you consent or not. That's literally what it's designed for. Am I missing? I feel like this is just like isn't this like a positive argument for rape?
A safe haven box or give the child up for adoption. In the case of pregnancy, you can't, unless the baby's old enough to survive, you can't deliver the baby and provide that child, give that child up. But the response to this would be that the child's natural habitat is the womb. The child has a natural right to his or her mother's womb. The womb is actually designed to bring that child into existence and to nourish that child. And so to say that the child doesn't have a natural right to his or her mother's womb is in fact false. And I'd invite you to consider a scenario where if the whole world of adults, people that have their own bodily autonomy, all agree together, we don't want to care for children because a toddler, we don't want to extend our bodies to provide nourishment to a toddler or to newborn children.
Or extend our vaginas for dicks. No? Is this not like a Handmaid's Tales argument or whatever the fuck? Throwback. Oh boy, what did I say here? Do I need to rewatch this debate? I don't even know if she's using any of these arguments anymore.
Capacity to have consciousness. At the moment of conception,
No,
excuse me. At the moment of conception, I told you I'm gonna start treating you like a child.
Okay.
At the moment of conception, all of the parts are there, right? The genetic code is there.
That's not the parts. A blueprint is not a part. Wait, can we pause
Okay,
here?
so wait, let me finish let me finish my question.
Yes, ma'am.
So what part gets added in the womb at between 0 days and 20 weeks?
There's the heart,
excuse
there's
me.
the spine.
Where does that part come from, Destiny?
From the blueprints. Do you think blueprints to a car are the same thing as a car?
You just said it doesn't matter. I said the child in the
blueprint
womb
isn't going to magically become a car.
Well, a one cell thing is not a thing with many cells.
You're acting as if. Can you sit up? Oh my gosh. Wait, here, I'll
if you're gonna treat me like a kid, I'm gonna act
Child,
like a kid.
Destiny, please sit up and have good manners.
Treat me like an adult.
No. Let's go back to the coma. Let's go back to the coma. I answered my question about the parts and the holes. Have the capacity.
She got real mad on that one. Good memes.
And so therefore we have the right to kill them because we have our bodily autonomy that we don't want to extend to provide for these children, using our bodies to care for the children, using our bodies to rock the children to sleep, using our bodies to go and collect nourishment for the child. It would still be wrong, even if the adults made the choice to say, I don't want to use my body to help these children, it would still be wrong to kill those children or to deliver them to a condition of neglect so that they would eventually die. That would still be wrong. And so it follows that adults at large, and certainly parents, have natural responsibilities to care for their children. The United Nations in Article 3 on their treatise on the rights of children specifically says, in all actions concerning children, whether undertaken by public or private social welfare institutions, courts of law, administrative authorities, or legislative bodies, the best interest of the child shall be a primary consideration. Children have rights too. And interestingly, Dr. Franks seemed to concede the point that we are talking about human beings, and it appeared that she may have conceded the point. I'm going to be asking her in cross-examination or welcome her to share this in her rebuttal. She even seemed to perhaps concede the point that children too are persons. And yet it seems that she has made this case, constructed a case to say that effectively they are second-class persons, that they are second-class citizens, and that their bodily autonomy rights, their right to protect themselves and be protected by the law from lethal violence. We're not just talking about being pregnant, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. We're talking about entire, potentially 100 years of life, the lifespan of a person, maybe an average of 70 years of life, that they don't have the right to live that life and to receive the care that you and I, Dr. Franks, and everybody in this room was privileged to receive as children. Just think of it. If none of us here received that care, we would not be here. Any civil society, and I want to close with this, any civil society must care for its children and respect their natural rights, and that first right is life. Thank you.
Thank you, Lila Rose. And now we move on to 5 minutes from Dr. Franks for a rebuttal.
The invocation of natural rights is always an interesting one because usually what people mean by that is something like a religious sense of what they believe to be true about personhood, about rights or obligations. With all due respect to that, people are entitled to have those religious beliefs, but there is nothing like a consensus about those. There are multiple religions that actually believe that a child isn't a person until they take their first breath. That's a valid position to take. It is what some religions actually believe.
Okay, Petra Singer, all right.
There are a lot of religions and religious people who believe that until the moment of quickening, there is no soul in the fetus, and therefore it is not a person. In fact, that's what the Catholic Church believed for a really long time. Interestingly enough, they thought that the quickening happening later for girls than it did for boys, and that's an interesting question to ponder. If we're going to speak of natural rights, the danger of this is that we know throughout history there have been references to natural rights, to what God intends, to what we all know to be true. That has been used to defend every possible atrocity you can imagine. Natural rights don't mean anything in them and of themselves. There is no somehow persistent, transcendent truth out there that is simply true all the time, at all places, no matter what the context. That isn't something that is real. It is a subjective belief. And subjective beliefs are very valuable. But the entire point of law is that we don't get to impose our subjective beliefs on other people. We can be constrained from hurting other people, but we also have rights not to be hurt by other people. And I have to clarify that, no, it's not the case that you're only allowed to engage in self-defense against someone who is not innocent or someone that is intending to hurt you. If a reasonable person in your position would believe that there is a threat, you are entitled to use force, even if it's something tragic, like a child who has picked up a gun and doesn't know the kind of threat that they're posing. We do not make exceptions for this. It is not just against people who are not innocent. Sometimes innocent people will have to die because no one has a right, natural or otherwise, to life that is contingent upon extracting something from your body without consent. That is not a right. And even if we want to look at the Constitution as the great law, perhaps as some sort of divinely inspired law, I'm pretty fond of the 14th Amendment, as Lila has mentioned. I use it a lot in my first book. But note that the first thing the first 14th Amendment says is all persons born or naturalized in the United States, not gestated, not fetuses, persons born. There's a reason why we have a dividing line at birth for many concepts of personhood. Personhood is obviously a complex concept. It doesn't mean the same thing in every context. There's a reason why we don't count fetuses in the census. There's a reason why we don't think that they can be classified as dependents on your tax forms. That doesn't mean that there's no life there. It doesn't mean that we have to say there's no value there. But it matters what the context is. And again, the important context is any person, and I do want to clarify when we talk about adults, right, versus children. Children can get pregnant. Children do get pregnant. 10-year-olds get raped and get pregnant. So if we're going to talk about who's got rights where, what about the rights of the 10-year-old girl who's pregnant and whose body may very well not be able, probably won't be able to survive that pregnancy? We feel so sure in saying that, well, she is sort of a person. That fetus, though, more of a person. It is not about classifying fetuses and embryos and whatever else as second-class citizens. It's about insisting that women and girls are not second-class citizens. That once again, we cannot justify. There is no principle of justification that says women and girls alone, the ones who get pregnant, do not have the same rights as everyone else would have. Again, the right to eject somebody from your home using force if necessary. That's a right that we all have. And yet we're willing to say, no, someone has to welcome a bodily use that is intimate, that is permanent in some ways. Yes, the pregnancy will end at some point, but the impact will not necessarily. That we have to say that that person has got to accept all of those things, even though no man, no boy will ever have to be asked to do that. And that in any other context, we would not agree that they do not have that right to say no. I think that the only way, once again, that we can insist that that kind of exceptional treatment is something we can reserve for pregnant women and girls has got to stem from the belief that women and girls are not full human beings. And because I believe that women and girls are full human beings, that is a proposition that I have to reject.
It's about as well as you can do that argument, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Franks, for that rebuttal. We will now be moving into a period of cross-examination, where Dr. Franks will ask Lila for 6 minutes on a cross-examination section by asking questions, and Lila will respond. And then we'll have a period where Lila will ask Dr. Franks questions for 6 minutes, and Dr. Franks will respond. My first question is hypothetical. Imagine that a mother is the only viable organ donor for her sick toddler. But she's pregnant, and if she continues her pregnancy, she won't be able to donate this organ, and it means that the child is going to die if they don't get this organ. If this woman in this position continues the pregnancy and the toddler dies, do you believe that the mother in this situation has committed murder? No.
Wait, no, I don't like this hypothetical. Wait.
See, she won't be the only viable organ donor for her sick toddler. But she's pregnant, and if she continues her pregnancy, she won't be able to donate this organ, and it means that the child is going to die if they don't get this organ. If this woman in this position continues the pregnancy and the toddler dies, do you believe that the mother in this situation has committed murder? No.
Am I misunderstanding? So, like, if the mother were to donate the organ, then I'm guessing they'd have to terminate the pregnancy. The pregnancy probably wouldn't be viable. But, like,
If she ends the pregnancy to provide the organ in order to save her toddler's life, do you believe that she's committed murder?
I think if she terminated the pregnancy with full knowledge that the child that she was ending the life of was a human being, I think that it would certainly be an act of homicide. Would it be an act of murder? I think you could say there's a case of duress and stress in that situation that should be taken into account because she really wanted to save the life of her toddler. But if you, with full knowledge and the life of your unborn child, that is an act of homicide, yes.
In 2023, the executive director of Cincinnati Right to Life organization argued that raped 10-year-olds are capable and should carry their attackers' children.
It's not homicide murder. Homicide is just homicide is just killing of a human, I believe, right?
Executive director of Cincinnati Right to Life organization argued that raped 10-year-olds are capable and should carry their attackers' children to term. This is a quote from her. I know that a 10-year-old might not understand pregnancy, but I also know that a 10-year-old understands life and playing with dolls. I know that when my daughter was 10 years old, she cried and begged for a little sister or a baby. And while a pregnancy might have been difficult on a 10-year-old body, a woman's body is designed to carry life. That is a biological fact. Do you agree with this statement?
I think that a 10-year-old child who's been the victim of sexual assault is an absolute victim, and it's absolutely horrific. She deserves care and support and to be removed from anywhere close to her abuser. He needs to be thrown behind bars. But I do not think the solution to the trauma and the violence of rape is to commit a second trauma and an act of legal violence against now an innocent third party if a baby is conceived. We don't give the death penalty in this country to rapists. It's decided by our Supreme Court to be unconstitutional. I don't see how it can be just to give the death penalty to an innocent unborn child for a crime that, of course, they did not commit.
Jesus.
If life begins at conception, is the removal of an ectopic pregnancy murder?
It is not. Would you like me to explain why?
Yes, please.
some religious people, some pro-life people try to get around the ectopic pregnancy argument by saying that life doesn't begin at the moment of conception, it begins at the moment of implantation. So once you've conceived and you've nestled in your little uterus home, I don't know how she escapes this, other than saying that it's going to die either way.
In an ectopic pregnancy, the child is developing in a hostile environment. He or she is not developing in the womb, and he or she has already died by the time there may be an ectopic pregnancy removal, or is going to die, and the mother will likely die as well. So removing that child, the intent of that act is not to end the life of that child. It is to remove that child from a hostile environment for that child and to save the life of the mother. I sincerely hope that if we invest the resources we should in research to determine a way to save that child's life and the mother's life, I would love to see that medical advancement happen.
And just if I could get clarification, you mentioned that child is going to die. So if a fetus or an embryo, a fetus is likely to die, is likely not to survive, do you believe that it's acceptable in those situations, apart from an ectopic pregnancy, to terminate those pregnancies?
If you're referring to a child that is developing not in an ectopic pregnancy, developing in the womb, and they may die, you're saying because of a medical disability, or what you're referring to, some sort of terminal illness? Just to be clear about your question.
To a situation where the fetus has been assessed to be non-viable, not because of the timing of pregnancy, but because of some sort of fetal abnormality.
But in this scenario, to be clear, the child is still alive and growing. It's not dead already.
I'm afraid that's not a question that I can answer.
I think it's a crucial one, and I would answer if the child has already passed away, because, as you said, they have some severe abnormality that would lead to its death, and it has passed away, then I think it's completely illicit to remove that child. If the child is still living and growing, and they're in their mother's womb where they belong, I think it's wrong to choose when the death date is for that child. That child deserves a right to life, and even if that child will live for a few months longer, I mean, sometimes these babies with severe disabilities live for years, I think they deserve to have a natural lifespan and not have it cut short by an act of lethal violence.
Would you support a law that would require parents to be organ donors for their children?
I would not.
Can you explain why?
Why?
Of course. Well, I think it would be a very...
Not the natural environment. That's teleological, whatever bullshit. The purpose of the body. How do you... Never mind.
Good thing for parents to be organ donors for their child, and if I had the opportunity, I would be an organ donor
That
for
wasn't
my
the
child.
question.
Organ donation is not something that always works. Organ donation is something that is an elective, surgery that some people choose to undergo to save the life of a loved one.
This is not at all what we're talking about. What?
And it is an unusual, abnormal circumstance because of something that severely went wrong, a disease or a disability that somebody is undergoing. And so while I think it is very noble for somebody to donate an organ, I don't think we should have laws requiring it. Being in your mother's womb is not a matter of taking your mother's, receiving your mother's kidney. You're in the natural habitat where we all began our lives, and you have a natural right to continue to grow and not be killed. Organ donation involves a child that, in your scenario, that might receive a donation and might be able to live longer. An act of abortion is active killing. So I would not be okay with a parent who had a child who needed an organ donation going and killing their child, but I would not require the parent to donate the organ.
You would be okay with the parent letting their child die because of the lack of an organ?
I would, if I was talking to the parent personally, I would say if there's a way to, get them on an organ donation list, I would.
That was a vague. She shouldn't have said, "Would you be okay with it?" You say you don't want to pass a law against it.
Really recommend that. I think that's one of the beautiful things that we have in this country is the organ donation list from those that can donate their organs because perhaps they've undergone brain death, but they can then donate the organs even though they themselves have passed away. That's typically how organ donation is done in this country.
Thank you both for that period of questioning and answer. And now we'll begin with Lila, who will question Dr. Franks. Again, 6 minutes. Thank you.
Dr. Franks, is a child a person?
Is a child a person? Yes, in most situations, I would say yes.
When is a child not a person?
When they're dead?
If by child someone is referring to what they believe for personal, moral, religious reasons, let's say a zygote or a fetus or an embryo, I would say in some situations that is not a person.
To be clear, I'm defining child as a young offspring of two members of the human species. So the law of biogenesis, a member of the human species, that's a very young member of the human species. So we're talking about both unborn and very young born children. Are they persons?
I would make a distinction between the unborn
Using narrow, is it etymology? Is that what you said? Etymological arguments is the most boring fucking way to try to debate. Ugh.
Born.
And what is the scientific case for making the distinction that the unborn human is not a person, but the born human, minutes after birth, is a person?
Scientifically, I don't think that is the right question. The question of whether or not someone is a person is a philosophical question. Science can tell us things descriptively. They can tell us, is this a being that has brain waves? It can tell us whether or not certain aspects of the body have developed. It cannot actually answer the question of whether or not a being is a person.
Let me clarify then. That's fair. Let me clarify. Are all members of the human species, are all humans persons?
Ones that are born, yes.
Okay, so you're saying that at birth you become a person philosophically in your view?
Like are members of the human persons, like a corpse, you would argue is a member of the human species, right? Like this is a corpse, it's a member of the, but it's like they're dead, right? Like this mummy is a member of the human species, or is like these types of like grammatical, syntactical arguments. Like sometimes it's valid, but to try to make these arguments of like, this is what a word means, or like in the definition of the word, I just think it's super unsatisfying.
What are you basing that on?
I'm mostly responding legally. Philosophically, I may, or as a matter of personal opinion, I may have different views, but as a legal matter, yes.
So we build our laws on certain moral philosophies, is that correct?
We build on them, yes.
So what is the moral philosophy for what you're defending as the correct legal position to deprive children before birth of all their rights, including their bodily autonomy to have their bodies protected from lethal violence?
The answer that I've given in my opening statement and in my rebuttal is that the person that is pregnant has rights, and that there aren't any rights that an unborn, whether we want to call them a person or not, has that can override those.
So to be clear, I'm not denying that persons that are born, women included, have rights, but I'm asking if the child before birth, what is the philosophical framework for saying that the child minutes before birth doesn't have a right to life legally?
The philosophical argument would be that the alternative to say that this is...
I really think she should make the difference, the positive or negative distinction. She's saying right to life, and ordinarily that right to life, I think, is like a negative right, meaning it's just a right that the government is protecting for you, but it's not something they're giving to you, whereas positive rights are things that the government gives you. So like negative right to not be arrested and held in jail without charges, right? That's like a negative right, freedom or whatever, right? But a positive right would be like having an attorney provided for you to make sure that you have some kind of public defender. That's like a positive right. You're guaranteed something. When you talk about the right to life, we're not talking about the negative right for a person to live. You're talking about you're extending to them the positive right to use somebody else's body, which is overriding their negative right to bodily autonomy, right? That's what we're talking about. She's playing with those words. If this lady's a legal person, I feel like or a legal philosophy person, I feel like it's a good distinction to make. Maybe, unless I'm missing something.
Being with full human rights would mean that you could override the actual person that everyone does agree is a person with rights, that you could override theirs, and that is not a sustainable or intelligible position.
If a person doesn't want to care for their newborn, do they have the right to leave their newborn to die and not use their body to care for that newborn?
Given that the newborn is born, no, they would not have that right.
Why?
Because that is a person who has been born.
Again, I want to understand your distinction about why birth, it sounds very arbitrary, why birth is the place that you would suddenly assign personhood rights. I want to just read you a quote from Harry Blackmun again and ask your position on this. He says, this is the justice who wrote the majority opinion in Roe v. Wade. If this suggestion of fetal personhood is established, the appellant's case, of course, collapses, for the fetus's right to life would then be guaranteed specifically by the 14th Amendment.
For what it's worth, I think Justice Blackmun wasn't a very good justice. So if we want to start criticizing the Roe decision, I would be very much critical of the Roe decision. But to the extent that he is saying, if this were proven, this would be the case, that is a big if, and the if has not been answered because the personhood question can't be answered in a scientific way because it is a philosophical and moral question. And again, if that were the conclusion that one had, that it did have all of these rights and that they were rights that overrode what you were calling arbitrary, I think the fact that this is a person who is inside another person is not in fact arbitrary, and that is a limit that makes sense.
Does the preborn human have any rights at all?
Does the preborn human... No. Rights, no.
No rights. So it would be illicit in your view to have to end the life of a preborn child at, say, 7 months for any reason?
I would not call it ending the life. Terminate a pregnancy at 7 months, yes.
Is it ending a life? It is terminating a pregnancy of a 7-month-old
It is ending
living
a
fetus ending a life.
7-month pregnancy.
Is there a life that you have to end in order to end the pregnancy?
I would not say so.
So you're saying that the unborn human is not alive?
I would say that for the purposes of whether or not you are allowed to terminate a pregnancy and how that needs to be understood legally, the word life here would not be relevant.
Why is the word life not relevant when you're talking about lethal violence against a developing human?
Well, I'm not talking about lethal violence.
One thing, if you really want to do this, we got to get really hardcore. These are going to be ontological things. You really need to define, what do we mean when we say life, when we say person, when we say these things? Like these are really difficult questions, and people assume they know way more about this than they actually do. Like even how much does your memory impact who you are as a person? I would argue it's a huge component of who you are as a person, but you don't really think about like if you lose your memory, you're a different person. But I mean, there are good hypotheticals to test this. Like there's a lot of, like if you've never been conscious before, who are you even? Who are you referring to? You're not even referring to a person, you're referring to a body. You're not even referring to like a thing. You've never had your first awakening before. Like you really need to get into this before you start saying like, oh, life or a child or whatever, or something more we're talking about here, we're getting at here.
Violence against a developing human, which is kind of my point.
So in your view, the act of sectioning a developing living human to death is not violent?
What I've said is that if a fetus is not born, they are not a person, they are not a human life in that sense, no matter what the method might be. Ooh, I just got cut.
And in the scenario where you're talking about, you're making your case on bodily autonomy, in this scenario where all adults do not want to use their bodies, they choose not to use their bodies to care for a newborn, does that newborn have the right to the bodily care of an adult?
The bodily care of an adult, not to the extent that you can use an organ or be inside someone's body without consent, no.
Do they have to use their arms, their physical arms, and their hearts, the organ of their heart and lungs that are enabling them to move their arms, to go and collect food for that newborn?
This is a fundamentally different thing that one guy tried to make this argument. This is a fundamentally different thing than entitling somebody to their body, and it's reflected in our laws as well, right?
Could you repeat that?
Does an adult have to use their
She's getting it. You have to work.
physical arms, which are mobilized because of the beating of their heart and the breathing of their lungs, to go and collect food for a newborn?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
She's asking if she has to
Does
work.
a person have to use their body to go and collect food for a newborn? Does an adult have the responsibility to do that?
To work.
Does an adult have a responsibility to go and
To
get
use their
food?
body.
Not to endanger their body, no. They're not required to sacrifice their life or their health to get food for the newborn.
So are you saying abortions are only listed in the case that the person is sacrificing their body up till death?
A person who has said, I do not want to have this pregnancy, is allowed to say that they no longer want that pregnancy.
What if somebody doesn't want to use their arms and their legs to go collect food for a newborn? They don't want to use their body to go collect food for a newborn. Do they have the right to not do that?
Again, the distinction that I am making is that you cannot use someone's body. Another being cannot be inserted into, nor could we
They would be
extract from
using their
someone's
body in this scenario to collect food for the newborn.
Not in the way that a pregnancy is, no.
I think we'll have to end that period there. Thank you both for that period of cross-examination. You may now both take your seats if you like. We'll move now into a 10-minute period of open dialogue where you can just speak freely, and we'll begin with a question from the moderators. So just so that the audience has a sense of what your ideal world looks like, would either of you care to sketch out the ideal legal framework surrounding abortion? For Dr. Franks, that means, would you support any limits on legal abortion? For Lila Rose, does that mean that you would you support any exceptions to a kind of abortion ban? And feel free to break down federal versus state, just to give people a sense of where you stand on the legal issue, and then feel free to get back into personhood or wherever the discussion might take you. Thank you.
Do you want me to start? Or?
I want yo mama. Okay, listen, I love you guys. I'm gonna go out to eat. I'm so sorry. Be careful. World connections first, because I love connecting to you guys. Hula hoop, eggplant, salsa verde, bagel, swing state, relish. Oh my god, purple. Easy. Animal print, polka dot, washer, Barney the dinosaur, pesto, houndstooth, inner tube, chimichurri, herringbone, and people eater. Purple. Oh my god, I bet it's gonna be the hardest thing too. Oh my god, and it's the purple category. Toppings for shit: pesto, relish, salsa verde, and is chimichurri a thing? Maybe. Oh my god, I'm fucking a genius. I'm so smart. Things that are circular and spin around: washer, hula hoop, inner tube, and herringbone? Oh, bagel. Fuck. Things with a hole or whatever that are, animal print. And these are, I don't even know, something cringe. Textile patterns. Do you agree that there's a meaningful distinction between using your body for a baby in the womb versus using your body to support a born child? I'm not really convinced they're different. If you were dating somebody and there was a guy that was sore on his neck, would you be okay with her maybe just rubbing his neck? And would that feel different to you than her sucking on his neck? Or fucking his neck? I just can't really do that. I don't know. I think there are meaningful differences between permitting access into your body and like. I think these are meaningfully different things. Like they're like a kind of. It's like a different thing in kind. Okay, be careful. Love you guys. Don't die. And stay safe, okay? Always.